Hello everybody and welcome to round 7 of the 2021 GP4 World ChampCar Offline Championship. We're now into the second half of the season for this series and we are here at the Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps in Stavelot, Belgium for round 7 of the championship. The second time that a World ChampCar race takes place in Europe. I'm JW97 and I'm joined today by my arch nemesis Ra.
Yep, hello everybody, back again, and of course we saw some nice graphics.
We did, with the weather that is as well. But anyway, we're here for the qualifying session, and of course, last time out at Silverstone, which was 2 weeks ago, it saw Bruno de Barros take his 4th victory of the season, his 4th win out of 6. Again, just like at Laguna Seca, a little bit lucky for him as well, because just like at Laguna Seca, his teammate was looking comfortable out there, but he kind of dropped it on his own, Ra.
Yep, that's why he's been given the new nickname Bottle Job Kloss.
He threw away a victory at Silverstone and as a result ended up finishing second on that day, and we'll be looking for redemption. But we're here at Spa-Francorchamps, and the first driver out on track in the one-shot qualifying session is, of course, Kim Sung-min in the manor. For anybody who is new to this series and needs a reminder of how this works and the order works for this one-shot qualifying system, obviously it is determined by the results of the last race, but in reverse. So, of course, Kim Sung-min, from what I remember, retired last time at Silverstone. He was the first retirement of the race, and as such, he's the first driver out on track here at Spa-Francorchamps. So, effectively, in a way, laying a bit of grip down for the drivers around him. Now, just like at Silverstone, of course, we're looking at a big week for the OC here at Spa-Francorchamps. We've got World ChampCar today. Then, of course, later on, we, of course, have the Formula 2 qualifying session here at Spa-Francorchamps. And, of course, obviously, the race for that will happen tomorrow as well at 7 PM BST. We also have the top class race here as well for the Belgian Grand Prix, where the first team news is going to be revealed tomorrow. So, look out for that one. And, of course, we have the penultimate round of the entrance series happening this week as well, where Juho Sapanen can take claim the title this week, but I think like with many series that we've had in the past, he's probably going to need quite a lot of luck to win it. So as far as I'm concerned, I think it's more likely going to go down to the wire, but you never know, of course. But anyway, we're focusing on World ChampCar today for the obviously starting the second half of the season for World ChampCar. 6 races left, including this one, but it's safe to say at the moment, Ra, it's all going the way of Bruno de Barros this season.
Yeah, indeed, and he's taken the chances, especially when his teammate couldn't take them, and he's looking very comfortable. He could be on the way to win the championship, but we'll wait and see. We still have a few more rounds to go.
Indeed, as Kim Sung-min now then is about to start his lap as he just comes around the chicane now then. Still, people refer to it as a bus stop chicane, even though it's not so much a bus stop anymore. But Min is about to start his lap now then. The next car on track will be his teammate, Francesca La Rosa. He'll be next on the racetrack in the other manner as Min comes out of the first corner now then, making his way down the hill towards the daunting Eau Rouge corner now then. Of course, this is the previous version of Spa, because of course the newer version, which has the wider runoff and also the alternate layout for the motorcycle races, hasn't been released yet for GP4. So obviously we have the previous version of Spa currently as the latest version available on Grand Prix 4 for anybody curious. But anyway, Kim Sung-min now then approaching Lecom, and he does a 31.285 in the first sector, which is just basically all straights really. Only one braking zone in that first sector, because obviously Eau Rouge and Raidillon is all flat out really, and I imagine it's still going to be the same for these cars, but I could be wrong. Anyway, down towards Turn 8, which is called Bruxelles, and coming down to what was a lot of people referred to it in the past as the corner with no name, but it's now known as the Jackie X corner, heading his way down towards the double left-hander with Pouon now then, and so coming around the double left-hander he goes now then. A quick section of corners this is, before making his way down towards turns 11 and 12 on the racetrack, before approaching the end of Sector 2, which is after turn 14, of course, the corner just before Stavelot. Through 13 he goes, and now approaching turn 14 now then, and he'll be approaching the end of the second sector quite soon before approaching Stavelot now then. He does a 1 minute 20.631 in the second sector. Coming out the corner now then, making his way towards Blanchimont now then, flat out through these two corners now then, so flat for the first one, and then flat through the second one before approaching the chicane now then, which we'll see where we could see some overtaking being done and maybe some clever overtakes. We'll have to wait and see. Quite a lot of overtaking opportunities, of course, around here at Spa-Francorchamps. But anyway, through into the last chicane then goes Kim Sung-min, and let's see what lap time he can do now then in the World Champ Car. As Kim Sung-min comes down the pit straight and across the line he will go, and it's a 1 minute 53.737. That is the benchmarker time for him to beat. As we now look at his teammate Francesco La Rosa now then, who is now making his way towards the last chicane. Yeah, obviously it is quite a large track. It's quite understandable that. But anyway, as Francesco La Rosa now then comes down the straight to start his his only final lap, of course. Next up on track will be the Viper of Yuri Gabriel, a man who has had quite a lot of bad luck this season, it's fair to say. So far, only finished once this season, if I'm not mistaken. I think all the other 5 races he has failed to finish, so he'll be looking to see if he can rectify that here at Spa-Francorchamps. But anyway, Francesco La Rosa up through Eau Rouge and Radion he goes now then. So, of course, that corner is quite common, as we've seen in the top class in the past, for seeing people losing their front wings and making a mistake.
Yep, indeed. We could have some in World Champ Car, and we could even have some again in tomorrow's F2 race, and maybe even qualifying for top class.
It'll be very interesting to see if that's going to happen here at World Champ Car as well. But as we saw there, La Rosa went 1/10 quicker than Min in the first sector now then. Of course, the Mana and Viper battle, obviously you're not expecting these guys to fight for pole position. You're currently expecting to fight in their own little battle, as La Rosa now then comes down through Puon now then, making his way towards turns 12 and 13 he goes. Through the long swooping right-hander he goes, through the right, then through into the left-hander now then he goes, before approaching turns 14 and 15 now then. 15, of course, being Stavlo, as it's called, as it rejoins where the old track was. Now he's half a second up on his teammate in the first sector, so La Rosa definitely a hell of a lot quicker than Min. We do expect the gaps, of course, for these guys to be a little bit bigger than what you would expect on any normal track, because obviously the bigger the track, the larger the gaps you're expecting to be in terms of the whole pecking order. So expect that to be the case in this instance as well, given how long this track is. Of course, 7.004 kilometers in length, the longest track on the World Champ Car calendar, of course, and also for the top class as well, and maybe even F2 unless a voted track or a wildcard track ends up exceeding that. But anyway, La Rosa goes 7 tenths quicker than Min to go into with a 1 minute 53.024, goes to the top of the moment, 7 tenths quicker than his teammate. Pretty good lappers. Now we look at Yuri Gabriel, and I alluded to it a little bit earlier on. He has had quite a lot of bad luck this season, has the Brazilian. Only finished once so far this season in World Champ Car. The other 5 times he has failed to finish for various reasons, and as mentioned, he'll be looking to see if he could try and rectify that here at the Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps. But Gabriel now then comes across the line to start his lap. Next up on track will be his teammate Bartosz Bracki, and that will be the Manners and the Vipers done with in their little scrap, as Gabriel just comes out of the first corner. I thought for a minute there he had a little bit of a twitch coming through into there, but clearly not, because the car wasn't correcting itself out of the corner either. So coming up the hill towards Eau Rouge and Ladion now then, as Bracki is now onto the racetrack, as now Gabriel coming towards Lecom now then, and approaching the end of the first sector. What is it like compared to Francesco La Rosa now then? And he's only 600ths down in the first sector. Now, of course, it's only just straight on that first sector, so be interesting to see what it's like in the middle sector, where you can gain or lose quite a lot of the time as well. Making his way down towards Bruxelles now then, which is turn 8. Through the long swooping right-hander he goes, before making his way down towards the Jackie X corner, not the corner with no name anymore, because it now has a name on there, so there's no point calling it no name anymore. Heading their way down towards Puon now then, flicking it in for the left-hander now then, and now coming around turn 11 now then, the second part of Puon, before making his way towards turns 12 and 13. Soon be approaching the end of the first sector very soon. Flicking the car in through the left-hander now then, before approaching turns 14 and 15 on the track. Let's see what his second sector is going to look like now then. He's 6 tenths off in that middle sector, so despite being quite close to La Rosa, it seems like he's lost a lot of time in that middle sector, and I would not be surprised, even though this bit is also only got one heavy, despite this sector also only having one heavy braking zone in a way. It looks like Gabriel could actually fall behind Min in this session, but let's see. In towards the final chicane now, then goes the Brazilian, flicking it in for the right, using all the curb as possible. Through the left he goes, and now heading his way down the pit straight now then. And where is Gabriel going to place his Viper? Across the line he goes, and he goes into third, only just slotting behind Min, as we now look at his teammate, Bartosz Bracki, as he'll be starting his lap quite soon in the second Viper, and this will be the Vipers and Manners done with before we get on to the next set of cars. Really, of course, we saw last time out as well at Silverstone a very good qualifying session for one of the Vipers. I can't quite remember which one it was. I think it might have been Yuri Gable now that I think of it. As the next driver who'll be coming out onto the racetrack will be Alex-Eric Lucien, who'll be looking to put a disappointing Silverstone race behind him. Of course, you may remember, of course, at Silverstone, we had a bit of a glitch with the strategy where three drivers were on a one-stop strategy in that race, and Lucien pitted quite late, and that obviously turned out to be the wrong strategy in the end. But hopefully, Yuri has double-checked this. That should not be the case this time and every driver on the World ChampCar grid for today's race should be on a two-stop. Now, I should point out, because it is a long track, as Bracki is up by 64 fans of a second on La Rosa in the first sector, I should point out as well, because it's a 30-lap race around here, I should point that one out, you should expect the stints to be quite short as well. So the first round of pit stops, you should expect at around lap 7 to 12, and the second stops to come at around lap 19 to 24. Obviously, being a long track, you've obviously got to compensate for that. So anyways, Bracki now then comes down the hill towards P1 now then, as now we make our way through into the next section of corners as they now make their way towards turns 12 and 13 on the racetrack now then. As they now make their way through the long sweeping right and then through the left-hander. Now there we go. And let's see what Bracki's middle sector is going to be like compared to La Rosa. He was purple in the first sector by 600ths of a second. Let's see what his second sector is like. And he's 2/10 up in the second sector compared to Francesca La Rosa. So as long as he doesn't make any mistakes, Bracki should be the quickest of the Mercedes-powered teams, or the rookie teams, I should say. Let's see what Bracki can do now then as he makes his way through the second part of Blanchimont now then before making his way down towards the last chicane. And so now making his way through the right and then through into the left-hander. And let's see if Bracki can eclipse La Rosa's time now then. So Bartosz Bracki coming down the pit straight and across the line. He will go. Can he break into the 1 minute 52s? He can by 0.3 of a second. A 1 minute 52.668. So they are these runs done with. And I have to ask you, Rod, do you think any of them could perhaps get in front of some of the quicker cars like we saw at Silverstone?
Maybe. I think Bracki might have a chance. Same with La Rosa, but then again, as you alluded to earlier, these gaps can be pretty big, so the fuel spread could be even bigger. So we'll have to wait and see.
Alex-Eric Lucien has just started his lap in the Persia, as the next driver on track will be Simon Mutka in the Carlin. I should point out as well, because I bet there are some of you that are a bit confused, why the DTM sign-ups weren't open this past weekend. Well, Flo had a lot going on the past weekend, so he wasn't able to upload them, but it should be uploaded today, the DTM sign-ups, probably at some point after he's done the Formula 2 qualifying session, so look out for that one. Maybe just before the premiere for the Hungarian commentary version of the Hungarian Grand Prix highlights, which are being released today. As Lucien, we were talking about that earlier on, Ra. He is 52 thousandths down on Bracki in the first sector, but of course, the first sector isn't really that much of a test. It's only a heavy braking zone. Of course, you gain and lose most of your time in this middle sector. So let's see how the Peugeot has adapted in the middle sector compared to Bracki. That's going to be quite interesting indeed. As Lucien now then makes his way out of the corner using a bit of curb on the left-hand side. As now coming around Pouan we go now then through turns 10 and 11. So now making his way towards the long swooping right-hander now then of turns 12 and 13 as Lucien now then making his way towards turn 14 before approaching Stavler. And let's see what the end of his second sector is going to be like compared to Bracki. And he's still down by 0.2 of a second. So this is not looking like a good lap for Lucien, given the fact that you would expect him to be quicker because he's in a quicker car than both the Vipers and the Manners.
Yep, indeed. And he could even fall behind Francesca La Rosa, so it could be even more disappointing for Lucien.
See what he can do anyway. The Frenchman now then comes up towards the final chicane, flicking it in through the right, then through into the left. And let's see what Alex-Eric Lucien can do now then as the Frenchman comes down the pit straight and across the line. He will go, and he goes into second place. He slots in between Bracky and La Rosa there, but still not a very good time from Lucien, especially when he's in a car you would expect to beat both the Vipers and the Manor. So already one of the Vipers proving to be a surprise at the moment, that being Bartosz Bracky. Speaking of Polish drivers, we're now looking at Simon Mutka, one of Bracky's fellow compatriots, and he has had a pretty decent season, fair to say. In fact, both Collins have had a decent season in World ChampCar, although at Silverstone it seemed to be a race to forget for Simon Mutka, because I think he was one of the 3 drivers who was on a one-stop. Only one person was able to make the one-stop strategy work last time out, and I'm trying to remember off the top of my head who that was, but they were able to get points. Yes, it was Bartosz. It was Balenciaga. He was the only one who was able to make it work and get some points in the bag. But the other 2 weren't able to do so. So the next driver on track will be Zachary Fitzwater in the Chip Ganassi racing car, who didn't have any strategy problems, just lacked a bit of praises. It looked like there Mutka made a little bit of an error going through the first corner there. It looked like his car was starting to twitch a little bit there through that first turn. So that could come back to bite him by the time we get to the end of the first sector. Let's see as Mutka now then comes down the Kemmel Straight and now making his way down towards the end of the first sector. Let's see what it's like compared to Bartosz Bracky's first sector now then. And he is 3 tenths up in the first sector. Despite that little twitch he had in the first corner there, he's still up on Bracky. So it makes you wonder how much more time he could have had he hooked up that first corner correctly there through into La Source. Now coming down towards Bruxelles now then, which is turn 8. So a long swooping right hand we go. Very easy to understeer the car through into there and go off. Now down towards turn 9 we go. Probably a lift off of the acceleration. Probably don't need to brake through into there as Mutka now then makes his way down towards P1. Flicking the car in for the first part. And now into the second part then he will go before making his way towards turns 12 and 13 on the racetrack now then. Along around the right-hander he goes. Now into turn 13 he goes. A quick section of corners now then. Using the curb on the outside. Now making his way towards the end of that first sector. Let's see what it's like compared to Bracky this time by. And he's 6 tenths up in the second sector. Nearly 7 tenths up to be exact. So I'm expecting him to break into the 1:51s with this lap. But we'll have to wait and see. Mutka around Blanchimon he goes now then in the Carlin. Now coming around the second part he goes before making his way towards the last chicane now then, which will take him back onto the pit straight. Now approaching the chicane he goes now then, flicking it in through the right and then into the left-hander he goes. And Mutka now then coming down the pit straight and across the line comes the Polish driver of Simon Mutka. Is he going to break into the 1:51s? He can, a 1:51.812, 8 tenths quicker than Bartosz Bracky. You would have expected Lucien to do something similar than that, but obviously not. He's way down the field as we now look at Zachary Fitzwater in the Chip Ganassi racing car, who it's fair to say, Rod, despite being in a Chip Ganassi, it's not really gone that well this season for the team.
Yep, indeed. I mean, you would be expecting better knowing it's Chip Ganassi, and Chip Ganassi is actually one of the best teams in World ChampCar, but looking at it, it's not been the best seasons for both their drivers, and it looks like it's not going to be their year.
Thomas Cassidy will be the next driver out on track in the Meyershank racing car, as Fitzwater able to hook the first corner better there than what Mutka can. Doesn't necessarily mean he's going to be up on him there in the first sector, but we'll see. You'd imagine with him being in a Chip Ganassi, he would be quicker than a Carlin, but of course this season Chip Ganassi have been way up. Definitely been inconsistent this season, it's fair to say. But anyway, Fitzwater coming down the Kemmel Straight, and let's see what his first sector is like compared to Simon Mutka now then. And he is 2 tenths down in that first sector. So not a very good first sector there for Fitzwater. But he is up on Bracky, which is important. Otherwise, if he was down on Bracky, I think that would be a bit of a problem for him. But anyway, coming down towards turn 8, he goes now then, down through the Bruxelles corner. Before making his way towards turn number 9 now then, heading down the hill and then flicking the car in through the left-hander now then, using the curve on the outside before making his way down towards Puon now then, and coming down towards the left-hander now then, flicking the car in, using a bit of curve on the inside as well. A lot of drivers seem to be taking that so far in this one-shot qualifying session. As Fitzwater now then, coming around the long swooping right-hander now then of turn 12, then through into turn 13 he goes now then, using a bit of curve on the outside now then, before making his way through towards turn 14 and before approaching Stavlo, as he's still 2 tenths up in the second sector, but it seems like he has gained time in that middle sector, because you would expect, given it's a little bit more technical in that middle sector, you'd expect that gap to increase a little bit, but clearly not. Fitzwater able to maintain it just a little bit, so he seems to have found some time in that middle sector, but how much more he can find in this last sector, I'm not sure. I'm still not expecting him, though, to eclipse Mutka's time, but let's see. into the final chicane then goes the Australian through the final turn and onto the pit straight he will go now then. And Fitzwater looked like he had a little bit of a twitch there coming off the exit, but Fitzwater across the line and goes into second place, 3 tenths off of Simon Mutka, and still not brilliant for a Chip Ganassi car, that's for sure, to slot behind the Carlin. But anyway, we now look at Thomas Cassidy in the Maya Shank racing car, and well, we talked about how the Vipers and the Manners seem to only have a race among themselves, Rob. But we've seen a couple of times during the season the Maya Shanks can drop back into where they are at the moment. So at times, sometimes the Vipers and the Manners could sometimes fight the Maya Shanks in some races, but only on a few occasions. Whether that will be the same around here, I'm not sure. But it has been just like with Chip Ganassi, but in a different sense, bit of an inconsistent year for Maya Shank.
Yeah, of course, Thomas Cassidy in one of the Maya Shanks, of course. Yeah, it will be a struggle, but it never will be this much of a struggle with the Vipers and the Manners being competitive with them. But yeah, it would either be them underperforming or the Vipers or the Manners overperforming.
Indeed. Next up on track will be Jordan Howell in the McLaren, as Cassidy finds himself 2 tenths down on Mutka in the first sector. Now, I'm not sure if that's quicker than Fitzwater, because he was also 2 tenths down on Mutka in the first sector, so we'll obviously keep an eye on that. But of course, let's not forget, Fitzwater made up most of his time in that middle sector, so we'll have to see if that's going to be the same case for Cassidy or not, as the Venezuelan makes his way down towards turn number 9, as he'll now make his way down towards Puon now, then he will go. And Cassidy now then through turn 10, chucking the car in, and then into turn 11 he goes before making his way towards turns 12 and 13 on the racetrack. Along the right-hander he goes, round the right-hander, through into the left-hander of turn 13 before making his way towards the end of the first sector now then, as Cassidy now then comes around section of corners now then, let's see, and he's 1 tenth down in the second sector, so he's gained a lot more than what Fitzwater did in the first sector. So he's gained quite a lot in that second sector and could actually slot in front of Fitzwater if he can keep this up. But I still think he needs to find a little bit more to eclipse Mutka's time. Either that suggests that Mutka's middle sector was weak, or it's just the fact that Fitzwater and Cassidy are just able to find a lot in that sector with their cars. But anyway, Cassidy now then into the last chicane he goes, flicking the car in through the left-hander as he now makes his way onto the pit straight, and Thomas Cassidy now comes across the line now then. Where can he place his Meyershank? He goes into second, 2 tenths off of Mutka, and gets in front of Zachary Fitzwater as a result. So P2 for the Meyershank racing car, as we now look at our McLaren of Jordan Howe, who is still yet to score points this season. And, well, he should have arguably have had some points this season. You've got to remember to Laguna Seca when he was fighting for a podium. But it just seems like he, at times this season, he lets his emotions get in the way.
You could say he is pretty much a frustrated person in the car, and you don't really want that. And it's so easy to get your frustrations out and pretty much wreck your chances pretty much. And that's what happened to him. And he's got to hope it doesn't happen again. But of course, it's not been the best this season, knowing his teammate Volker has been able to carry the team.
Indeed, as Hal finds himself 1 tenth down on Mutka in the first sector. Next up on track will be Nicholas Zorbach, a man who had a dreadful Silverstone. He was obviously fighting for a podium in that race until he made a mistake at Copse, which lost him his front wing in the end. So, obviously a race to forget there for Zorbach, considering he took his first win in a long time a couple of races ago at Long Beach. Anyway, Jordan Howe comes down the hill towards Puon, as Hal now then will come down towards turn 10, flicking the car in, and now through into turn 11 will go the British McLaren driver, and he's now coming towards turns 12 and 13 now then, allowing the long swooping right-hander, and then into the left-hander he goes before making his way towards turn 14 and the end of the first sector, flicking the car in he goes. Let's see what his first sector is like now then, and he's 300s up in 300s down in the second sector, so he could eclipse Mutka here, because just like what we saw with Fitzwater and Cassidy a little bit earlier on, he's been able to find some time in that middle sector, and he was only a tenth off of Mutka in that first sector. So let's see what Hal can do on this occasion as he now makes his way towards the last chicane now then, as he will now approach the right and left-hander. So through the right and then into the left-hander he goes before making his way down the pit straight now. Then can he get to the top of the timing sheets? Let's see. Jordan Howe across the line he will go in the McLaren, and he does by 500ths of a second. So he's able to find a little bit more time in that last sector and goes 58 thousandths quicker than Simon Mutka to go to the top of the timing sheets. And we now look at Nicholas Zorbach in the BMW. Of course, got his first win in a long time a couple of races ago at Long Beach and was looking set to get a podium at Silverstone. But it's fair to say that he might have overdriven the car a little bit too much, because he made a mistake at Cops and lost his front wing, which threw him out of the points as a result.
Yeah, no idea. And of course, knowing that he has been rumored for a seat in one of the series, which is, of course, I don't want to name it, but of course, not ideal. But of course, he does have some close competition there. But of course, mistakes like that, you can't really have those in these kind of pressures of the sign-ups.
Yes, obviously that what he's referring to there is the situation over at Haas, because Nicholas Zorbach's name was mentioned, of course, in the pilot episode as a contender for Haas. But there's also a couple of other World Champ Car drivers in this field that are linked with that Haas seat. Those two being Bartosz Kloss, who's obviously the current Haas test driver, and of course Florian Volker, who could, you never know, could make a return to the top class, but only if certain situations happen. Meanwhile, we just saw in the first sector there, Zorbach was a few hundreds down on Howe in the first sector. Now, given that he was down on Mutka in the first sector, Howe, that's also not very good for Zorbach. It depends how he hooks up that second sector as well, as he now makes his way towards the right-hander now then of turns 12 and 13. The German now then coming around turn 13 he goes, as they now make their way towards turns 14 and 15 on the track. Through to the right-hander then goes Nicholas Zorbach. Let's see what his second sector looks like. And he's now found the time. He's now nearly a tenth up on Howe in the second sector. So what you should expect, really, from a BMW, as he now makes his way through Blanchimont now then, as he will now make his way towards the last chicane. Through the corners he goes now then, and now approaching the final two corners will come Nicholas Zorbach in the BMW Pyramid racing car. Through the right and then into the left-hander goes the German. Let's see where Zorbach can place his BMW as he now makes his way down the pit straight, and across the line comes Nicholas Zorbach in the BMW, and he actually loses time in the last sector and goes into second, 29 thousandths off of Jordan Howe. Not ideal there for Nicholas Zorbach, as next up on track we have TJ Papero in the Meyer-Shank racing car. But yeah, surprisingly, Zorbach slower than Howe there. Not a very good lap there, Ra.
Yeah, not great lap from Zorbach. He lost a tenth in that final sector because of course he was up on Howe in the middle sector, so that's not ideal. It's a good tip. It really does cost you valuable time, but then again, this position is what matters.
Florian Volker will be the next driver out on track after TJ Papero has done his lap, as Papero now makes his way towards Eau Rouge and Radion. I nearly forgot the corner names there by accident, because I know it's been a meme for a few seasons, as we know. We don't want to talk about that.
Radion,
it is a bit of a dead meme, to be honest. But anyway, as TJ Papero comes down the Kemmel Straight, and let's see what his first sector is like, and he's 200s down on Howe in that first sector, 22 thousandths to be exact. And of course, we seem to see that the first sector isn't really a true representation, as we've seen so far in this session, for anybody who has just joined us, of course. So it's all really about what Sector 2 and Sector 3 offers for these drivers, as Papero now then comes down towards, what was the corner with no name, but is now known as the Jackie X corner now then. Coming down towards Pouon then comes DJ Papero in the Meyer-Shank racing car, using a bit of curb on the outside before making his way towards turns 12 and 13 now then. Through turn 12 and then into turn 13 goes the British driver now then, making his way towards turn 14 he goes now then, as he flicks the car in through the right-hander. Let's see what his second sector is like now then, and he's 9 tenths down in that second sector, so he's lost a hell of a lot of time in that middle sector, and he's way slower, you could say, compared to his teammate Thomas Cassidy. So this is not looking like a very good lap for Papero. In fact, he could end up being behind Bracchi here, so Bracchi could get himself into at least 17th place on the grid if Papero ends up losing more time in this last sector. But let's see. TJ Papero now then through the right and then into the left-hander now then he goes, as he will now make his way down at the pit straight, and he'll now make his way across the line very soon. Papero across the line in the Meyer-Shank, and he goes 7th place. So yeah, another position gain there for Bartosz Bracchi in the Viper there, and Pepero only 7th with that lap. As now we look at Florian Volker in the second of the Arrow McLaren SPs, and had a very decent season considering the McLaren is not exactly the best car on the grid. Seems to have found his form that we knew him to be in the top class with this car, and so much so, Roy, we mentioned it earlier, he is linked perhaps to a return to the top class with either Haas or Alfa Romeo. So I have to ask you, Roy, in your opinion, do you think you could see Volker return to the top class next season, or do you think the competition is too tough for him to get back? It's considering his previous 2 seasons in DTM.
Haas could be tough, but I mean, he could probably beat them, but we will have to wait and see. I mean, Alfa Romeo could be tough as well, but it either depends on if Quag leaves to join Renault, who, of course, he has Renault as his first choice. That depends if Quag leaves to join Renault, and of course, Videri not having a great season, still yet to score points, by the way. Alright, so not been the best decision for Videri, and if Videri keeps being that inconsistent, then he does have a chance on getting the Alfa Romeo seat, but he needs to pick it up, considering the fact that his previous 2 seasons in DTM hasn't been the best at all.
Indeed. Joao Pedro Kirby is the next driver out on track, as we just saw Volker there being a 10th down on his teammate in the first sector. As we said so many times, the first sector not really that representative, but given that he and Howe are in the same car, it could be the only time that you could say that Sector 1 is kind of a representation on this occasion. So, but we'll wait and see what the next 2 sectors hold for Florian Volker. We could see him doing what the previous drivers have done and gain some time in these next 2 sectors. Well, I say that, all but, of course, what we saw from TJ Pepero on the previous instance. Anyway, Volker through into turn 14 he goes. Let's see what his second sector is like, and he's found some time in that middle sector, but he's still a 10th down on Howe in the second sector, because he was around, still around a 10th slower than Howe, but I think it was nearly 2/10 of a second if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, coming towards the second part of Blanchimont now, then he will go, as he will now make his way down towards the final chicane. As let's see what Volker can do now then, as he now makes his way through the right and then into the left-hander now, then he will go, as he now makes his way onto the pit straight now then, and let's see what Volker can do now then. Across the line he will go, and he goes into 5th actually. He loses a bit more time in that last sector, so not a very good lap for Volker in the end. Only P5 for the 5-time top class champion. He actually slots behind not just Howe, but also Zorbat, Nuka, and Cassidy. As next up on track, here is Joao Pedro Kirby in the second of the 2 Chip Ganassi. So it will be interesting to see where he ends up, considering where Fitzwater is at the moment, which is in 6th position. Not exactly ideal for the Australian, but we'll see what the Brazilian is able to do in the Chip Ganassi racing car, as Kirby now then makes his way onto the pit straight to start his flying lap here at Spa-Francorchamps. But the next driver on track will in fact be that's Toby Holloway, who will be next up on track in the Peugeot. So it'll be interesting to see where he goes, considering his teammate is all the way down in 9th position behind Bracky and Pepero. It wasn't been a good session for Lucien. But anyway, here comes JP Kirby now then, as he comes up through Radion now then, heading towards the end of the first sector now then, as Kirby will now come down the Kemmel Straight, and let's see what his first sector is like compared to Jordan Howe now then. And Kirby's first sector, what does it look like? He is actually 1/10 up on Howe in the first sector, so it's fair to say he's doing way better than what Fitzwater managed in that first sector, as Kirby now then will look to see if he can keep that up in the remaining 2 sectors of the lap. Coming down towards turn 8 now then he goes, as he goes around the long right-hander of Bruxelles now then, before making his way down towards the Jackie X corner. Flicks the car in through that left-hander, using a bit of curb on the outside before making his way down towards Pouon now then. Kirby now then will fling the car in for the left-hander now then. For the second part of Pouon now then he will go, as he will now make his way towards turns 12 and 13 on the racetrack. Through into turn 12 he goes, and then into turn 13 goes Kirby, as he will now be approaching the end of the second sector quite soon now then. Through the right-hander he goes. Let's see what his second sector is like compared to Howe, and he's actually lost some time on him. He's now 6 thousandths down on Howe in the second sector. He could still recover it though in this last sector, but it just shows how strong that second sector was for Jordan Howell in the McLaren. Let's see what Kirby is able to do now then, as he now comes around the second part of Blanchimont now then, before making his way towards the last chicane now then on the racetrack, as Kirby now then approaches the final 2 turns on the racetrack. Through the right and then into the left-hander he goes, before making his way onto the pit straight now then he will go. Kirby down the pit straight, across the line goes Joao Pedro Kirby. Can he go to the top? And he can't. He loses a little bit more time and slots to second. 16 thousandths off of Howell in the first sector. The top four so far only separated by 58 thousandths of a second. So Howell's second sector really paying off him at the moment. But we've still got a lot of cars to go, including the Penske's and the Andretti's, who you would expect would try to eclipse that lap time. But anyway, here is Toby Holloway in the Peugeot, and it will be interesting to see where he ends up, because Kirby was able to smash Fitzwater, as you can see, only by just over 4 tenths though. But it'd be interesting to see where Holloway goes, because as we saw earlier on, Lucien did not get a very good lap. He's all the way down in 10th. So is that a case of the Peugeot not coping around here, or is it just a case of Lucien struggling? As next up on the racetrack will be Frederick Soper in the second of the two Carlins, as his teammate Mutka has already been out on track and is currently 4th, 58 thousandths behind Jordan Howe. Holloway now then up through Radion he goes before making his way towards the Kemmel Straight. Let's see what his first sector is like now then compared to Jordan Howe now then. And let's see what his first sector is like. He comes up towards it and he's 9 thousandths down in the first sector. Now, I can't exactly remember what Lucien's first sector was like, but I imagine it was worse than what Holloway was able to achieve. So, not a good look for Lucien. It could indicate that he's the only one that's struggling around here, and Holloway seems to be coping with this track quite fine. But anyway, Holloway down towards turn 9 he goes now then, as he now comes out the turn using with a curb on the outside there before making his way down towards turns 10 and 11 now then. So through the left and then through into the second part of Pouon now then before making his way towards turns 12 and 13 on the racetrack. Through turn 12 and then into turn 13 he will go now then, as he will now be approaching the end of the second sector. So let's see what Holloway second sector is like compared to Howell, and he's actually up on him. He's actually found some time in that second sector. He's now 1/10 up of Howell in the second sector, so it's definitely clear that Holloway is coping with this track a lot better than what Lucien did on his qualifying lap. Holloway now then coming towards the second part of Blanchimont now then before making his way towards the last chicane now then on the racetrack. Approaching the final two turns on the racetrack we go now then. Through the right and then into the left-hander we go, and Holloway comes down the pit straight. Can he eclipse Howell's time? Let's see. The Peugeot driver heading his way down the pit straight, and across the line he will go, and he does, but he lost a little bit of time in that last sector, as he's only 53 thousandths quicker than Howell, but still enough to get to the top of the timing sheets. But as we saw there, his last sector was notably weaker than his second sector. But anyway, Frederick Soper is next out on track, and he's not wasting any time, as he's going to be starting his lap very soon now then, as he makes his way onto the pit straight. His teammate's currently in 5th, so we'll see where Soper goes compared to him. As the next up on the racetrack will be Gabriel Gomez in the Andretti. So that's that then, as they now make his way towards Eau Rouge and Radion. Let's see what Soper can do now then, as he now goes around Eau Rouge through into Radion he goes, and let's see what Soper can do as he comes down the Kemmel Straight now then before approaching the end of the first sector. Let's see what Soper is able to do. And is he going quicker than Holloway in that first sector? The answer to that is yes, but only by 42 thousandths a second. But let's not forget, his first and second sectors were not exactly ideal for Holloway, so we'll have to wait and see what Soper's time is like in the second sector compared to Toby Holloway, because clearly with this sort of track, the lap times in the sectors just seem to be all over the place. At 1 minute you're up on your rival, and then the next minute you're down. Clearly that just makes this track well, it obviously makes this track so good, of course, because it's different in every sort of way. Every corner is different than the next, and every characteristic is different than the next, really. So Soper now then coming around the second part of Pouon now then before making his way towards turns 12 and 13 on the racetrack. Through the right and then into the left-hander he will go now then before making his way towards the end of the second sector now then. Through the right-hander he goes. Let's see what his second sector is like. And he's still up, but only by 11 thousandths. He actually dropped a little bit of time in that second sector. So he really is going to have to dig deep in this last sector if he wants to eclipse Holloway's fastest time. So let's see then what Soper can do as he now heads through the second part of Blanchimont now then before making his way towards the last chicane now then. In towards the final two corners then comes Frederick Soper in the car lane. Through the right and then into the left-hander now that he will go as he now makes his way onto the pit straight now then, and Frederick Soper is now going to cross the line. Can he go to the top? No, he can't. He loses a bit more time and goes only 30. He actually lost time to Howell as well, so he's actually slotted 68 thousandths slower than Holloway, and he's actually 15,000 slower than Howell as a result. But now we look at Gabriel Gomez in the Andretti, and it's fair to say in the last couple of races, he's had the pace compared to his teammate Igor Peter.
Yeah, indeed, and of course they were challenging with the barrels, but it doesn't look like they could be challenging anymore. But we'll have to wait and see. They could be challenging on this track. We'll see what happens after the barrels does his lap compared to Gomez and Peter.
It will be very interesting indeed. Next up on track will be Balint Zolga in the BMW, who was able to finally get some good luck last time out at Silverstone. So we're interested to see if he can keep that up here at the Circuit de Spa Francorchamps, as Gabriel Gomez is actually 2 tenths up on Holloway in the first sector, so pretty much what you would expect from an Andretti Autosport given the pace they've shown throughout this season. Gomez now they're making his way down towards turn 8, as Balint actually took quite a while to get out on track, maybe just waiting to have a bigger gap between himself and Gabriel Gomez. So quite interesting there that Balint opted to wait a little bit longer before making his way out on track to prepare for his one and only qualifying lap, of course, because for anybody who is new to World ChampCar, we obviously use the one-shot qualifying format in this series. So Gomez now then coming towards turns 12 and 13 now then, as he flicks the car in through the right and then into the left-hander he will go. Gomez, of course, who stated that he is not interested in coming back to the top class anytime soon, as he wants to focus on World ChampCar, which is totally fine. And look at that for a middle sector. Breaks into the 1:17s there, 1.1 seconds up on Holloway. This is looking like a very good time for Gabriel Gomez. Of course, he's in an Andretti, but even so, to go 1.1 seconds quicker in the middle sector takes some effort, no matter what car you're in. Anyway, as Gomez now then comes up towards the final chicane, where is he going to place himself? I think he's going to easily break into the 1:50s, but let's see. Gomez through the final chicane he goes now, to making his way onto the pit straight now then. Gomez down the pit straight and across the line he will go in the Andretti. Where's he going to go? And 1.3 seconds quicker than Holloway. What a time from Gabriel Gomez, a 1:50.314, and I think that's going to take some beating, Ra.
Yes, indeed, unless someone can get into the 149s. It could be possible 149s, but you need to have a really better lap than Gabriel Gomez, as you can see.
As it'll be interesting to see if anybody can eclipse that. Can the Penske's do anything about it? That being Klosh or De Bauer. That will be quite interesting to see. And whether his teammate Igor Peter can do anything, that'll also be a question. But now we take, turn our attention to Balint Zolga in the second of the 2 BMW Pyramid Racing cars. Zorbak's already done a lap, and it wasn't exactly the best lap for him. But Zolga, of course, finally got some redemption last time out in Silverstone, because he has had quite a lot of bad luck this season as the Hungarian. But finally, some good luck came at Silverstone when he was able to finish in 6th place and was able to make the glitchy one-stop strategy work and get himself 8th championship points, and he'll be looking to continue that momentum here at Spa Francorchamps. Next up on track will be the first of the 2 Ferraris, that being Sam Thompson, and so Sam Thompson will be next up on track after Zolga. There's obviously 6 cars left, including Zolga, that being Zolga, Thompson, Gonzalez, Peter, then Kloss, and then De Bauer. So those are the 6 cars left yet to do a lap here at Spa-Francorchamps before we get onto the race. I think we are just going to go over Court 2, so I think the race will start a little bit later than what it's scheduled on the thumbnail, but I don't think you guys will mind too much, as Zolga is nearly 2 tenths down on Gomez in the first sector, so far not on par with Gabriel Gomez at this point. Zolga now then down through turn 8 he'll go. The long sweeping right-hander will go the Hungarian as he now makes his way down towards turn 9, flicking the car in as he uses a bit of curb on the outside before making his way down towards turns 10 and 11 on the racetrack. So through the left and then into the second part he will go before making his way towards turns 12 and 13 on the racetrack now then, as he flicks the car in for the right, then into the left now then, before making his way towards the end of the second sector now then. Let's see what his second sector is like compared to Gomez, and he's already down by the time he gets there, 1.2 seconds off. It just shows how quick that middle sector was for Gabriel Gomez in that Andretti. Even Zolga can't match it at the moment in the BMW, and in fact he's 1.3 seconds down as we saw in the middle sector, so it looks like he could be even slower than both Holloway, Howell, and maybe even Soper and Kirby, but we'll have to wait and see. Maybe even Muka. So this is probably not looking like a good lap for Zolga, so maybe the BMW is looking like they're struggling around here at Spa-Francorchamps, but we'll see. Zolga coming down the pit straight now then, as Zolga now then is going to cross the line in the BMW, and he goes into 8th position. So yeah, the BMW's seemingly struggling at the moment, Ra.
Now, in the chase again, they are 6th and 8th, but we'll wait and see. We do only have 5 more cars left for Sam Thompson's one of them, so they both could start outside the top 10.
We'll see, but Thompson is the first of the 2 Ferraris to do a lap. I think his teammate will be next to go out on track. And no, it's not. In fact, I forgot. Gonzalez actually finished on the podium last time out at Silverstone. It will be Igor Peter that will be next on track. And then it will be Rubino Gonzalez before the 2 Penske's make their way out on the racetrack, with Kloss going out before De Bauers, of course. Would have been the other way around if Kloss didn't make that mistake at Stowe, which cost him the win. But anyway, Thompson through Eau Rouge and Radion now, and he goes. As Thompson now then comes down at the Camel Straight. Let's see what his first sector is going to look like compared to Gabriel Gomez. As the Ferrari plows down the Camel Straight. Let's see what his first sector is like. And he's 2 tenths down in that first sector. So I think, as I said earlier, it's going to take some beating for somebody to beat Gomez in this session. Because that was a monster lap that we saw from the Brazilian. And I think the Penske's are going to even have to think about what they're going to do in order to beat Gomez. Even Igor Peter at the same time in the second of the 2 Andretti. But anyway, Thompson through turn 9 he goes, as he'll now make his way down towards Pouon now then on the racetrack. Thompson down towards the first part of Pouon he will go, flicking the car in for the left-hander, and now into the second part he will go before making his way towards turns 12 and 13 on the racetrack now then. So through into turn 12 and then into turn 13 he will go now then, as he will now be approaching turns 14 and 15 very soon. Let's see what his second sector is like compared to Gabriel Gomez now then. And he is 5 tenths down in the second sector, so a lot better than what we've seen from the other drivers. So at the moment, he should fit himself into second position, but we'll have to wait and see how he hooks up this last sector now then, as he makes his way through the first part of Blanchimont now then, and now into the second part he will go before making his way towards the final chicane. Now heading towards the last chicane, then will go Sam Thompson in the Ferrari now then, through the right and then into the left-hander he will go, as he will now make his way onto the pit straight now. Then down the pit straight goes Sam Thompson across the line. He will go in the Ferrari and he goes into second place, 7 tenths off of Gomez. There's still quite a big gap between first and second position. So, as I said earlier, a lot of effort is going to need to be made in order to eclipse Gomez. But anyway, speaking of Andretti's, here is Igor Peter in the second of the 2 Andretti's. Of course, got the first ever World ChampCar win. But since then, he hasn't really shown the pace that he was able to show at Indianapolis earlier on in the season. He's been kind of a little bit off compared to Bruno De Bauers this season.
Yeah, and you could say that the Andretti's have been struggling, but of course Gomez has been the better of Peter ever since that win in Indianapolis. But yeah, it's not been the best for Igor Peter. You could say he's been a bit inconsistent.
Yeah, he has, and he'll be looking to see if he can rectify that here at Spa-Francorchamps. But as we said earlier, he's going to need to take some beating to beat his own teammate Gomez. As predicted, as I mentioned earlier, Rubino Gonzalez in the second of the 2 Ferraris will be coming out on track next. And then it will just be the 2 Penske's that will be left to set a lap time here at Spa-Francorchamps. As Peter now then just comes out of Radion before making his way down towards the Camel Straight. Let's see what his first sector is like compared to teammate Gomez now then. Heading down the Camel Straight, let's see what his first sector is like compared to Gomez. And he is 3 tenths down in the first sector. That's slower than both Thompson and what Zolga managed in that second sector. Although Thompson was able to gain some time in that second sector, where Zolga wouldn't. But so far, down on Thompson. So yeah, Peter's struggling to get close to Gomez. But we'll see what his second sector is like, because that's where his teammate gained a lot of his time from. On his quick lap, so we'll see if that's going to be the same case for Peter in the second Andretti, as he now makes his way down towards the 2 Pouon corners, Pouon 1, and then into Pouon 2 he will go, as the Brazilian now then trying to find a way to try and see if he can eclipse his fellow compatriot and teammate through into turn 12, and then into turn 13 now then he will go, before making his way towards the end of the second sector. Let's see what Peter can manage now then. Through into the right-hander. Let's see what his second sector looks like. And he is 1.2 seconds down. Whilst that is up on Zolga, it is not a very good lap for Peter at the moment. And just like what we saw, I think, a couple of races ago where he's struggling in qualifying, looking like a very tough qualifying session at the moment for Igor Peter. But we will see. But he is way off his teammate in this session. Gomez really on fire in that second sector. And I will be fascinated to see if the Penske's of Kloss and De Bauers are able to find a way to eclipse that. Anyway, Peter comes out of the final turn and onto the pit straight now then. He will go as Igor Peter comes across the line now then, and he goes into 10th. That is disappointing there for Igor Peter, and well, that looks like there is an opportunity there that he could start outside the top 10, Raw. Disappointing lap for Igor Peter there.
Yeah, really disappointing for Peter. You could say he has been really struggling, and yeah, it's not really looking good for him.
Yes. Gonzalez, it's been one-shot qualifying for the entirety of the season. You ever seen the Formula One qualifying format from 2003 to 2005? Same thing. It's a one-shot qualifying format. You only get one lap to prove your metal worth, basically. In the words of Tiff Needell on the Toka 2 touring car game, really, because back in 1998, BTCC used the one-shot qualifying format, but you lot didn't know that one. But anyway, Barcia's Kloss, as expected, will be the penultimate car to come out on track, and then the last car will, of course, be the current championship leader, Bruno de Barros, who is, of course, on form this season. Gonzalez just comes out of the first corner now, then, before making his way down towards Eau Rouge and Radion now, then. End of the first sector now, then. And let's see what Gonzalez is able to do compared to Gomez in this first sector. Gonzalez now then approaching the end of the first sector, and he's 3/10 down in that first sector. So roughly the same gap as it was between Gomez and Peter. So Gonzalez also looking like he might be struggling. But again, we saw his teammate, Thompson, was able to gain a lot in that middle sector. So who knows if that's going to be the same case for Gonzalez. But let's see as he now makes his way through the right-hander of Bruxelles, and now down towards the Jackie X corner now then, making his way down towards Pouon now, then he will go. And let's see what Gonzalez is able to do through into turn 10, and then around turn 11 he will go. As now he will now approach turns 12 and 13 on the racetrack. So through the right and then into the left-hander he goes, and we'll see what his second sector is going to look like now then. And let's see what his second sector is like compared to Gomez now then. And he finds himself 1.3 seconds down. So that's even slower than Peter. So Gonzalez, compared to his teammate, really struggling and could find himself outside of the top 10 here. So Gonzalez not on a very good lap at this point in time, as he now makes his way towards the second part of Blanchimont now then, before making his way towards the final chicane. Let's see what Gonzalez is able to do now then, as he now makes his way through the right and then into the left-hander he goes. And we'll see where Gonzalez ends up after this. So coming down the pit straight and across the line comes the Spaniard in the Ferrari, and he goes 13th. Not a very good time. So Peter and Gonzalez both struggling in this session in cars that you would expect to be close to the front, but it's not worked out. But now we get to the final two cars, and it's important now that we see what the Penske's are able to do with compared to Gomez, because it's safe to say, we've been saying it for a while, they've got a lot of work to do if they want to eclipse Gomez, Ra.
Yep, indeed, a 150.3 still the target. Gosh, it's looking like an unbeatable lap because Thompson, of course, is only 7/10 off that, which is the EU is the nearest one out of everyone to Gomez.
As Kloss now then makes his way through into the final chicane now then, as he will start his qualifying lap, and of course the last driver on the track will be his teammate and championship leader Bruno de Barros. And just to confirm, that's his name on the top left of your screen, that's just behind the timing tower, because well, that's how the mod works, unfortunately. But anyway, as Kloss now then makes his way down the hill, as he will now make his way towards Eau Rouge and Radion, and it will be very fascinating to see what his time is compared to Gomez in this first sector. So heading his way down the straight now then, let's see what Kloss's first sector is like compared to Gabriel Gomez now in the Honda powered Penske. Unlike in real life, Penske in this series is powered by Honda. Kloss through the first sector, 1/10 down in the first sector, so he's already down on Gomez in that first sector now then, as Kloss makes his way out of Lecumbe now then, before making his way down towards turns 8 and 9 on the racetrack now then. Through turn 8 he goes, and now he will make his way towards turn number 9 very, very soon now then. So through the corner with no name, as he uses a bit of curb on the outside before making his way down towards turns 10 and 11 on the racetrack now then. Through turn 10, now around turn 11 goes the Polish driver. Obviously, really is looking for that first win after, well, missing out on 2 occasions. Laguna Seca, not really his fault, got caught up in a pilot, but Silverstone was 100% all on him, had the race in control, and yet he, well, he spun off at Stowe, which handed the win again to Bruno de Barros, just like he did Laguna Seca. 3/10 down on Gomez in that second sector, so he is going quicker than Thompson, so I would imagine this will get him into second, but still, he's not been able to find a way to get any anywhere near Gomez at this point in time. Let's see what his last sector is going to be like now. Then he now makes his way towards the final corners on the racetrack. In towards the final chicane we go now then. Through the right and then into the left-hander. We'll go Barcius Kloss in the Penske now. They're making his way down the pit straight and across the line. We'll go the Penske driver. Is it going to be a front row start? And it is. And he's 4 tenths off of Gomez as a result, but that's P2 for Barcius Kloss in the Penske. But now there's only one driver left, and that's the championship leader, Bruno de Bauers. If anybody can beat Gomez, you would imagine de Bauers can do. But I think even for the championship leader, he needs to find a way to try and stop Gomez in this session. And as we said, it's going to be a bit of a hard task for Bruno de Bauers. But if anybody's going to do it, Raw, it's going to be him, that's for sure.
Yeah, indeed, but of course, second ain't a bad spot because of knowing what happens in Belgium in GP4 in lap 1. Going into turn 1, second always just takes the lead after turn 1.
Yes, indeed, but of course you do get a bonus point for pole position in this, so every point really counts, really, and I'm pretty sure every driver wants to get as many points as possible, obviously, because otherwise, what's the point in them being here? So, anyways, de Bauers now comes down the hill as he'll now make his way towards Eau Rouge and Rayon now, then through the left and then through the right-hander, through out of Rayon now, then he goes, and let's see what his first sector is like compared to Gabriel Gomez now, then as he makes his way down the Camel Straight. And let's see what his first sector is like compared to Gabriel Gomez now then. And he's 1/10 down in the first sector. So he is down on Gomez at this point in time. Through Lacombe we go now then. Through the right-hander now then. We'll go the Penske driver as he will now make his way towards turn 8 of Bruxelles now then. Through the long swooping right-hander he goes now and making his way down towards the infamous through turn 9 now. Then he goes to Jackie X corner now then. Using a bit of curb on the outside there then before making his way down towards Pouon as he now goes around the first part and now into the second part now then he will go. And now he will approach the end of the second sector quite soon through turn 12. Now into turn 13 will go Bruno de Bauers in at the Penske now. Then the championship leader making his way towards turn 14 now then. And let's see what his second sector is like compared to Gomez. And he's still 1/10 down in that second sector. So he could find himself on the front row. But we will see, of course. De Bauers now then making his way towards Blanchimont now then. Through the first part of Blanchimont then goes Bruno de Bauers as he now makes his way into the second part before making his way towards the final chicane now then he will go as de Bauers now then making his way through the right and left-handers now then. So through the right and now into the left-hander will go Bruno de Bauers in at the Penske now then as he makes his way onto the pit straight and across the line goes Bruno de Bauers. Can he find any time on Gomez? And no, he can't. He goes into second 1/10 off. But as a result, Gabriel Gomez takes his first ever World Champ Car pole position by 1/10 of a second. But of course, he's on the wrong side of the track, really. So you would imagine de Bauers will get him at the start. But anyway, here is how it looks like then. Gomez on pole with de Bauers in second, Kloss third, with Thompson in fourth, Holloway in fifth, Howell in sixth, with Soper seventh, Kirby in eighth, Zorbach in ninth, with Mutka in 10th, Zolga in 11th, and you can do the rest, Ra.
Yep, in 12th, Igor Peter, Thomas Cassidy in 13th, Florian Volker disappointing 14th. Same goes for Rubinho Gonzalez, a disappointing 15th. Also, Sacrificio and the Chip Ganassi, a very disappointing 16th for him. Bartis Praki, an impressive 17th, with TJ Preparo in 18th. Alex Eric Lucien, a disappointing 19th, with Francesco La Rosa in 20th, with Kim Song Min in 21st, and Yuri Gabriel in 22nd.
Indeed. Well, of course, Yuri obviously has to make the custom grid because, of course, we had the mistake rate on for this session. So, of course, we're going to need some time. So, stay with us, guys, because the race will be coming up quite soon. But in the meantime, I'm going to mute myself for the moment and get the tweet sorted before we get onto the race. So, stay with us, guys. The race will be coming up very, very soon as Yuri sorts out the grid.
But yes, yes, I am. Kukakisi.
Anyway, I'm back before Ra tries to ruin the stream and get us cancelled.
When do I get cancelled? I never get
Anyway,
cancelled.
so obviously Gomez on pole position, but we've seen several times in the past, for as you alluded to in the during the qualifying session, usually being on the right hand side of the track is not the best way to go.
Yeah, and of course I've experienced being on the left side of the track, and that end up.
But I think, according to Yuri, he has said this, I think, before in the past. On rare occasions, sometimes the right-hand side can work around him at Spa-Francorchamps, but on a majority of the occasions, it's always been the left-hand side that always gets the better run into the first corner. So you'd imagine that will be the case again for World ChampCar, but you never know, of course. Maybe it could be the odd exception on this occasion.
Yeah.
But anyway, waiting for Yuri to sort the grid out, and then we can get the race going. Just thought I'd mention as well, of course. Just thought I'd mention, of course, we do have the Hungarian Grand Prix highlights premiere coming out at 6 p.m. today, which will be just before the F2 qualifying session gets underway. I do apologise; it's taken quite a while for those highlights to come out. George was actually quite busy for this weekend, so he had to. He only had a chance to do the commentary on Sunday, so hence why it came out quite late. So apologies for that, but it is finally coming out today at least anyway, so don't you worry about that one. So that's that really. So of course, as mentioned, we do have the Hungarian commentary version of it as well, which comes out at 8:30 p.m. BST, and that's just to make sure, in case any issues with F2 arise, it doesn't cross into F2. So I don't expect there to be any issues with F2, but it's always good to just be on the safe side, really. So that's that, really. We're just waiting now for Yuri to get the grid going, and then we should be underway for what is the 30. Yes, for the 30 lap race. So obviously, just a reminder for anybody who has just joined us, of course, we usually have 2 pit stops in this, and we have Yuri has made sure that the issue that we had at Silverstone 2 weeks ago doesn't happen again. So, of course, Should be. In theory, it should be. So the two-stop strategies, you should expect the first round of pit stops to happen at around lap 7 to 12, and the second round of stops to happen on lap 19 to 24. It is a 30-lap race, of course, because this is the longest track on the calendar. It's 7.004 kilometers, so very long lap indeed, but hopefully it should be an entertaining one. But finally, we've got the grid up on the screen right now then. There you go. So, for anybody who has just joined us, this is what the grid looks like then. It is Gabriel Gomez on pole position with Bruno de Bauers in second. Bartsch Klaas will start in third with Sam Thompson in fourth.
We have Toby Holloway in the Peugeot in fifth, impressive close up from him, with Jordan Howe an impressive sixth for him in the Alves McLaren. Frederick Sopa in seventh in the Carlin, with João Pedro Kirby in the Chick Benassi in eighth.
Nicholas Zorbach starts in 9th with Simon Mutka completing the top 10 in 10th. Balenciaga is in 11th with Igor Peter a disappointing 12th.
We have Thomas Cassidy in the Meyer Shank, impressive 13th, with Florian Volker in the other McLaren, a disappointing 14th, with Rubinho Gonzalez in the other Ferrari, a disappointing 15th, with Zach Fitzwater in the other Chip Ganassi, a disappointing 16th.
Just Bracky, a very good 17th for him in the Viper, with TJ Papero in 18th. Alex Eric Lucien, disappointing qualifying for him, all the way down in 19th, with Francesca La Rosa in 20th. And on the last row of the grid,
we have the Mana of Kim Song Min in 21st, and the Viper of Yuri Gabriel in 22nd.
Yes, and the weather, there is no rain expected, so a completely bone dry race. So without further ado, let's get into the 30-lap race here at Spa. I nearly added 10 laps on there by accident, but it's a 30-lap race. But anyway, here we go then. So we are here on the grid. A lap counter would be helpful on this instance. But anyway, we have Gomez on the left of your screens. We have de Bauers on the right. You would expect de Bauers to possibly get the lead, judging from the history we've seen here at Spa, but you never know.
Yeah,
that's good. The pit strategies do work. But anyway, 5 lights are coming on your screen right now then. The 5 lights are on. We are underway here at the Circuit des Spa Francorchamps here in Stavelot. And who's going to get the lead of the first corner? Looks like Gomez has actually had a good start, but is de Bauers going to do your usual go around the outside? Let's see. And the answer to that is yes, he does. Although Gomez is still trying to stick with him. But de Bauers has just got the run around the outside and gets hold of the lead from Gomez. A terrible start from Klaas. He's down to 5th. There's a bit of a traffic jam forming a little bit behind as everybody tries to score him. As Gomez tries to look on the inside. Going through it to Rouge down. That was very close indeed.
That was close between Howell.
Klaas and Howell. Howell had a very good start. He's up to 4th, but Gomez having a go at de Bauers there has cost him, because now Thompson is trying to get a hold as they make their way down the Kemmel Straight for the first time today. As Klaas looks on the inside of Howell, as it looks like there's so much movement going on side by side between Holloway and Kirby. Kirby just holds on there as Klaas gets 4th back off of Howell into that corner, but it is de Bauers who leads. But as expected, turn 1 strikes again.
Yep, indeed, as we look at Teacher Preparo up to 21st, holding up Kim Song Min. Yeah, of course, turn 1 strikes again, and once again, de Bauers capitalizes it. Gomez now trying to fight back.
Is not giving up on the inside. He goes, but de Bauers just able to shut the door there and holds on to the lead. The 2 Brazilians could keep each other company throughout the majority of this race. A very good start for Zorbach to get up into 8th, only getting a place off the start. Volker maintains place. He's still in 14th. A terrible start for Fitzwater. He's down into 18th, but the top 2 continuing to fight away. And let's not forget Thompson is there as well. He could be there to capitalize if anything happens to the top 2 as Klaas tries to get away from Howell just behind and try and catch up to this group. But anyway, as they now come out of Stavelot, making their way down towards Blanchimont for the first time. Gomez looking to the inside of de Bauers, but de Bauers again covers him off. Can Gomez maybe try and line up for a move down into the last chicane? We do see quite a lot of bump and runs down into the chicane. Is the same going to happen here in World ChampCar? Gomez thought about looking to the outside before Benovic. Going to stay single file, heading into this last chicane now, then coming around the left hand and added as they now start as they complete lap 1 of 30 here at Spa-Francorchamps. It's de Bauers who leads. Gomez in 2nd, Thompson 3rd, Klaas in 4th, followed by Howell in 5th, Kirby in 6th, Holloway in 7th, followed by Zorbach in 8th position. De Bauers is the fast lap. Meanwhile, down the inside goes Zorbach on Holloway. Can he get the move done? The answer to that is no. Holloway just able to hold on for the moment now then as they make their way down the hill now. Then Gomez now maybe try and have a look at de Bauers going down the Kemmel Straight. It depends on what his run is like coming up through on, coming through Radion now, then we go, as Gomez got a run on De Bowers. Let's see, it looks like he's a little bit far back, but he's still got the slipstream on De Bowers. I just don't think he's close enough. Meanwhile, Koss is gaining onto the back of Thompson, but he is close enough now. Gomez looking to the inside, De Bowers trying to shut the door, going through to Lecom, and it works out. He covers the inside as Thompson would defend off a bit from Koss there. Zorbach trying to have a go at Hollow, it didn't work out. Meanwhile, Peter is trying to make his way back through the field, just can't find a way through, as Volker is up into 13th. Meanwhile, Pepero is on the inside of Gabriel. Gabriel aggressively shutting the door there and holds on to 20th position. So much movement's going on, Rob, but importantly, a very clean first couple of laps.
Yep, indeed, for now at the moment. And once again, Gomez going for it up on, and it doesn't work, unfortunately.
Well, Zorbach trying to have a go as well at Holloway, didn't quite work out. Peter on the inside of Mutka, can he get the move done into Puon? Not quite again. People are just able to shut the door. There's been some damage.
Someone has a problem.
Someone has a problem because there's a pit call somewhere around in the field. Who's got a problem? Oh, there it is. It's one of the Meyer Shanks. It is, who is that? That is Cassidy. Cassidy is out of the race, and it is a throttle problem that is taking care of Cassidy. So we're only in the space of 2 laps. We've already got our first retirement, and it is the form of a mechanical failure. Cassidy, I must say, with that mechanical failure, very lucky not to get collected at the exit of Puon there. But, yeah, such a shame for Thomas Cassidy.
Yeah, a big shame for him. And yeah, very close between himself and the Manor, I think. Yeah, very close. There, I think it was LaRosa.
He nearly clipped the Rosa there. That was quite close indeed. But meanwhile, back to the battle for the lead between the two Brazilians, Bruno de Bowers and Gabriel Gomez now. Then Gomez tried to have a look as Thompson having to go a bit defensive because he's feeling the pressure from Klaas. And now the top 4 are now grouped together as a result. All aboard the Bruno de Bowers train, you could say, in effect, as they now come down the pit straight to start lap 3. As Kirby tries his best to close in on Holloway. Meanwhile, Zorbach and Holloway, as Zorbach's trying to close in on Holloway. Klaas, meanwhile, setting the fastest lap now. 1 minute 51.987. Currently holding on to the bonus point for the fastest lap of the race now then. Heading down the hill now then towards Eau Rouge and Radion. Through the first part, through into the second part. Can Gomez get the run again? He seems he's a little bit far back. It just seems like De Bowers has got better traction coming out of the source. And I don't think Gomez is close enough on this occasion to try and have a go at him down the Kemmel Straight. But he's still within the slipstream, so he should be able to get within the gearbox. De Bowers still decides to defend just in case he tries to attack him there. Zorbach on this occasion not close enough to get a hold of Howell, as Peter is still stuck behind Simon Mutka at this point. Peter really struggling in the early stages of this race. I do apologise. I nearly choked there a little bit as my voice decided to go into a bit of a moment there. But anyway, down towards turn 8 as Peter, is he going to try and have a go into Bruxelles? He thought about it. Mutka trying to give him the space, but he's just not far enough alongside to get a hold of the Polish driver. As now everybody starts to form behind him, as you can see, including Rubino Gonzalez, who's on the rear of that train. As meanwhile, Peter looking to the inside of Mutka. Can he get it done into Puon? No, again. Mutka just able to hold on for the moment as Volker looks to try and see if he can capitalise in 30 position. He's now right on the gearbox of Peter now then, as Lucian, who's also had a very good start up into 14th, trying to defend off from Gonzalez. Meanwhile, the battle for the lead continuing, as is the battle for 3rd position. Gomez again right in the slipstream of De Bowers, trying to have a look on the inside through the first part, not going to work out, so he's just going to have to hang back again for the moment. Through to the second part we go before making our way towards the final chicane on the racetrack now then. Running on board with Gomez as De Bowers again, fending off the inside quite well, just in case Gomez thinks about a lunge, and Thompson did the same behind when it came to Klaas. Coming down the pit straight to start lap 4 of 30 now then in this race, as they now come down towards the first corner. Can Gomez maybe try and find a way down the inside into La Source? De Bowers already defending the inside as Gomez does set the fastest lap of 1 minute 51.837. Just can't seem to get the move done at this point, just tucks back for the moment, and it looks like does De Bowers get good exit out the corner? It does seem like that's the case again. But can Gomez hold on to the slipstream? I think he might actually be a lot closer than what he was on the previous lap, so maybe this could be Gomez's best chance. But let's see, through Eau Rouge now then, up the hill, through Radion now then. Is Gomez going to get a lunge? He's a lot closer than what he was on the last lap. Is Gomez going to get the lead from De Bowers this time? But he's going to look to the inside. De Bowers doesn't even think about defending, so this should be the move here for Gabriel Gomez. Down the inside goes his fellow compatriot. Has he got the lead? And yes, he has. Gabriel Gomez takes the lead yet again here at Spa-Francorchamps, and De Bowers has to concede the lead. But Gomez now into the lead of the race.
Yeah, they took him around 4 laps. Of course, they didn't take him not as long, but of course 4 laps. Not ideal. Could have gained a little bit more time because, I mean, we're getting close to the pit stop window.
Only 3 laps away from that. Of course, the first round of stops should come around laps 7 to 12. So be aware of that one, of course. As now coming out of turn 9, then we go. As Zorbak again trying to put Howl under pressure, going into Pooh and Danny inside to go. Howl gives it, Holloway gives him the space. I get Howl and Holloway confused, but he holds on to 7th. As Gonzalez, unseen by the cameras, is finally past Lucian, so he's up into 14th place, and now he's trying to attack Volker for 13th position. As De Baus will have to think about both Thompson and Kloss behind him. As De Baus now starts to drop back a bit, but now look at it. Thompson with insane traction compared to De Baus, but he's been cut off. Is Kloss going to make his way through on the inside? He thought about it, but didn't quite work out. Nearly teamwork there from Penske there, as now coming up towards the chicane. Is Thompson going to try and have a go at the championship leader into the last chicane? And you can see De Baus already defending the inside to make sure that Thompson doesn't think about a lunge into there. Meanwhile, Gonzalez has finally overtaken Volker. So Gonzalez making his way up through the field, and he's up into 13th position now. Then Gomez now with the fastest lap, 1 minute 50.921. Currently holding on to the bonus point for the fastest lap of the race. Coming through La Source now, then we go. As they now make their way down the hill towards Eau Rouge and Radion, we will go. As now heading down the hill, down this support pit straight. I don't think Thompson is close enough to get De Baus on this occasion, so I think De Baus has just got enough of a gap to stay in front at this point in time. Coming out of Radion we go. He's still within the slipstream, but I think he's just that little bit too far back to challenge. But Zorbak isn't on Holloway. Is this finally his chance to get by on the Peugeot driver, as he's also got his teammate Zolga starting to close him down as well. As they now come down the Camel Straight, is Zorbak going to finally get the move done on Toby Holloway? Let's see. Coming down the straight is Peter. He's now on the inside of Soper in the background. Is he finally going to get the move done? Zorbak finally up to 7th. He's past Holloway. Is Peter now going to finally get himself into the points down the inside? And he can. Up into 10th place goes Igor Peter. He's finally now into the points as a result. So finally we're starting to see some overtakes at this point in the race, Ra.
Yeah, indeed, that's what we want. And for the race is getting a bit more entertaining right now.
Indeed, as we're 2 laps away from the first round of pit stops happening, as Mutka now trying to fend off from Gonzalez coming out of turn 8. Looked like he had a little bit of understeer there. It's fair to say used quite a lot of curb on the exit. Gonzalez now looking to the inside, going through into P1, not going to work out, so Gonzalez has to hold back for the moment as they now come out of the second part of P1 before making his way towards turns 12 and 13 on the racetrack now then. As we've only got 1 retirement of the race for anybody who has just joined us. That was Thomas Cassidy. Thompson again trying to have a go at De Baus. This time around, though, Kloss wasn't close enough to capitalise, but he might get a run on him onto the chicane, as all 3 of them are close together heading up towards the bus stop chicane. Thompson needs to be aware of Kloss in case he doesn't get the move done. Flicks it to the inside. Can he do what Chung did last season in the top class? No, he can't. De Baus holds on for the moment. Kloss wasn't able to capitalise as a result, and Thompson's still stuck in this Penske sandwich at the moment as Gomez sets another fastest lap.
Yep, Gomez continuing to pull away, which is good news for him, and he's really stretching away. And Howell's surprisingly right on the back of Kloss.
Yes, indeed, Howell on the back, and he's also dragged Kirby along with him as well in the Chip Ganassi racing car. Meanwhile, again, Thompson not close enough, but meanwhile, Gonzalez looking to the inside of Mutka into the source, but Mutka already has that inside line covered, so he's just going to hold on to that position at the moment. He needs to be aware of also Volker, in fact, all that big train of cars that he's forming all the way down to last position, so Mutka holding up a train, going down to last at this point in time of the runners, that is, because of course Cassidy is out of the race. Thompson there having to defend a little bit, as meanwhile Holloway having to defend just a little bit because he can feel the pressure from the second BMW. He's already been passed by 1 BMW. Now he's got the other BMW, Balint Zolga, to worry about behind. As meanwhile, Fitzwater again clearly struggling down in 17th position at the moment. It's just these last couple of races have not been his races really, have they, Ra?
Yeah, indeed. It's not been the best of races for him at that time. And yeah, of course, he got podium, I think, in Laguna Seca, and yeah, it's not looking good for him.
Olga had a go at Holloway there, but it didn't work out well. I thought for a minute there he was actually going to pull the move off, but Holloway just able to hang it around the outside and hold on to it. They need to be careful though, because Igor Peter is starting to gain on them as he's now finally into the points paying position after a tricky qualifying session. Meanwhile, back to the battle for second between the Penske of Bruno De Baus and the Ferrari of Thompson. Thompson looking to the inside through to Blonchim on this side, but gets the inside chopped off. Is Kloss going to capitalise in the second Penske? We'll have to see, but at the moment he's not close enough. But Thompson going to get the move done into the last chicane. He thought about it, but Kloss is going to try and take full advantage of this. He's looked on the inside, but not quite close enough on the inside, and Thompson covers him off there going into the last chicane there, as Gomez with another fastest lap, as the gap is up to nearly 4 seconds, and it is now up to 4 seconds, 4.1 seconds the gap between Gomez and De Bauers at this point in time, as Thompson tries everything to get hold of De Bauers, as he had to go very defensive going through into La Source. Is he close enough perhaps this time by to maybe get a lunge up towards the Camel Straight, as Fitzwater, in fact I think he's picked it, in fact no, I think that's for Kirby, isn't it, if I'm not mistaken.
Kirby, yeah.
Yeah, Kirby's pitting this lap, so we are now at the pit stop window, because we are now on lap 7 of 12. This is when the first pit stops, and even Gomez is also pitting this lap as well. So that would explain the pace he's got. He's got lighter fuel. Gonzalez actually goes wide. Is Volker going to go through? And he does. Is Lucien going to follow through? Yes, he is. So that looks like maybe a mistake that's been made there from being a Gonzalez. We did see he was looking on the outside of Mutka. Could this be the reason? Let's have a look.
Yeah, it actually could be the reason. We've seen it before in the top class with when Omar did this. No, he went on the curb. That's why.
Yeah, he missed the apex completely, went on the curb, and as a result has handed 2 places to both Volker and Lucien. As a result, Volker up to 13th and Lucien up into 14th, but Gonzalez could actually get him back down the Camel Straight. I'm not sure what's going on in the battle for second, though, because I thought Thompson was close to De Bauers, but I don't know what's going on there as he got through. No, he hasn't. De Bauers has actually stayed in front for the time being. Meanwhile, as now down the inside goes Gonzalez, but not close enough, and Lucien holds on to that 14th position. As meanwhile, look at this, down the inside goes Zolga, and that's a brilliant move there from Zolga. He's up into P8 there. That was the reason why he went wide, because Zolga just popped his nose in there. Now Peter wants a piece of Holloway. That's a great move from the Hungarian.
Yeah, indeed. Snuck through, took the mistake from Holloway, and he took that chance. Now he's free.
7th and 8th now for the 2 BMW drivers. As we now look at De Bauers now, who's currently in second position. We're now looking at Bartosz Bracki now then, who is under pressure from Zachary Fitzwater, who's obviously dropped back a bit in this race. But of course, we are expecting the race leader, Gabriel Gomez, to come into the pits this lap and be the first of the leaders to pit, as we are on the first round of pit stop stages now then, as we ride on board with Thompson. Is he close enough to get to Bauers? I don't think he is on this occasion. But meanwhile, the race leader, Gabriel Gomez, he'll peel to the right, which he does. So into the pits comes the race leader, Gabriel Gomez, for his first of 2 pit stops.
Yeah, we'll see where will he rejoin. Will he rejoin in traffic? We'll find out. It could be possible he could rejoin in traffic.
Bauers, meanwhile, takes the lead as a result. And, of course, we are also expecting Kirby in the pits. His lap, there he is. The Chip Ganassi also into the pits as well. So, the 2 Brazilians getting the pit stop out of the way. Kirby now being serviced by the Chip Ganassi guys. A 9.2 second stop for the Andretti guys, taking on a bit of fuel in this second stint of the race. As where is Gomez going to emerge then after this pit stop? Let's see, as he now just comes towards the end of the pit exit then, and there's a few cars there you could just about see, and Gomez is going to emerge in 10th position, just in front of Mutka. So he finds himself in a car lane sandwich. He's got a little bit of clear air in front, but not too much, because up in front is Frederick Soper. But it does mean De Bauers is in the lead, but of course he still needs to make his first pit stop. Anybody in this group going to be making a pit stop this lap? I'm not sure, as Thompson having to fend off from Kloss. Thompson isn't Kloss, isn't, nor is Howell. So none of these guys are pitting at the moment, nor is Zorbach, and nor is Zolga either. So nobody in the top 10 at the moment deciding to pit. Kirby, meanwhile, rejoining 21st after his pit stop. Gonzalez, meanwhile, in the Ferrari is pitting this lap. So we've only got one driver pitting this lap, that being the Ferrari of Rubino Gonzalez. Meanwhile, his teammate, Sam Thompson, having to cover from Kloss, because because of the Kloss battling with Thompson, it's allowing De Bauers to just get away that tiny bit at the moment, giving him that bit of breathing space that he needs at this point in time.
Yeah, indeed. There's now Volker trying to go for the move on Mutka. It doesn't work for him. Fortunately, staying in 12th.
As meanwhile, Gonzalez, who's trying to make up for that mistake he made earlier on, trying to get through on Lucien, but we do understand, of course, he is pitting at the end of this lap, so he is pitting before his teammate Thompson on this occasion, who's currently fighting in this group that he's currently in at the moment, giving himself a bit of a breathing space to himself with Kloss, because it looked like Kloss was trying to have a go at him into Blanchemont, but covers the inside into the chicane just to be sure. Zorbach's not too far behind this group either, so if they keep fighting, he could gain up as Volker tries to go and mute, but Lucien could take full advantage here, and he does. So Volker making a bit of an error there, and Lucien makes him punishes his mistake, then gets up into 12th. And meanwhile, behind Volker, of course, Gonzalez will be pitting this lap, of course, as now Lucien tries to have a go. Is Volker going to try and get him back on the inside of the chicane? He thinks about it, but Lucien holds on, and just behind Gonzalez is going to be peeling into the pits, which I think he has done now. So Gonzalez in for his first of 2 pit stops. So we now rejoin the guys who are towards the front of the field, and Thompson and Kloss not close to each other either. Same goes for Howell in the McLaren. So these lot keeping each other company at the moment, but not close enough to attack each other at this stage.
Yeah, indeed. Of course, if Kirby joins ahead of these guys, it's pretty much about for P3 at the moment.
As they now make their way through into the section of corners, Bracky looks like he's
Bracky.
got a bit of understeer there, but luckily he doesn't end up losing his front wing like we've seen a few times in the top class. Meanwhile, Gomez is on a roll at the moment. He's not wasting any time on the fresher tyres on the inside, and he gets a move done on Soper. Up into ninth place goes the Brazilian, and as mentioned, he's not wasting any time whatsoever. As meanwhile, his teammate Igor Peter will be pitting this lap, as will Kloss and Howell meanwhile, and I think there was somebody else in front of Peter that's pitting as well. That'll be Zolga. So a few cars pitting on this occasion. This Kloss is now back within the slipstream of Thompson, but of course Kloss is pitting at the end of this lap, so he'll be looking to see if he can get the jump on Thompson.
Yeah, indeed. We'll see what he rejoins. Same goes for Howell.
As Bracky now then makes his way through, and again he's
Oh,
understeering,
no.
he's gone wide. He has gone wide, and that gives the place to La Rosa as a result. We saw him understeering through at Eau Rouge and Radion, and well, it seems that on this stint he is really struggling, Ra.
Yeah, he's not lost not one position, but 4 of them. And
I
in
think that was
18.
actually 5, actually. I think it was actually 5, because there's 1, and where are the others? There's 2, 3, 4. In fact, you were right, it was 4. I thought there were more cars in that group, but clearly not. But either way, he has dropped down into 18th position. Not ideal for him as a result, as they now make their way towards Stavlo now. Then we go. So meanwhile, Kloss will be coming into the pits, and he does, and so does Jordan Howell. So third and fourth are into the pits as Lucian tried to have a go at Mutkin there, who is also pitting at the end of this lap. Thompson, meanwhile, is pitting at this lap, and so is the Bauer. So expect a pit stop battle between Penske and Ferrari. Howell and Kloss, meanwhile, are into the pits.
Yeah, of course, someone else is coming into the pits right in front of Kloss. Of course, the mechanics right in front of Kloss's mechanics, of course.
As now Howell is getting ready, as the mechanics are still working on Howell's car, as Kloss has finished his pit stop. Is Howell having to wait? He is. Peter, of course, is in this lap as well for Andretti. Howell having to wait, in fact, for Holloway, because he was coming in as well, so he's been majorly held up as a result, and as a result of that, Kloss able to stay in front as a direct result of that. And I think at the same time, Kloss had to wait for Holloway to go through as well. But let's see where they emerge then after this pit stop. And they're going to emerge in 9th and 10th, I would imagine. Yeah, Kloss comes out in 9th, and Howell, in fact, he's going to emerge in 11th. He's actually come out behind the manor of Kim Sun Min. And he's also got TJ Papero behind him. Please keep it tidy, boys, as now Papero will be coming into the pits this lap. They're going to go side by side. Oh, that was close. And, well, to TJ Papero, just luckily avoiding a collision there. But now Bracky is going to try and capitalise, and so is Joe Pedro Kirby. He's also made his pit stop, but he's getting held up. He's going to be 3 wide nearly going down the Kemmel Straight. Is he going to gain 2 places here? He's already gained a place on Gabriel. Is he going to get TJ Papero? No, he's not. So he's just going to stand back for the moment. But as mentioned earlier, the top 2, provisionally, in fact, the top 3, I should say, are all pitting this lap. That being DeBowers, Thompson, and Zorbach. Zorga wasn't pitting, in fact, from what I thought from Peter on the same lap as Peter. So I do apologise. He's actually going to stay out for a little bit longer and actually take the lead temporarily in this race as we look at DeBowers and Thompson now then, who will, of course, be coming into the pits this lap. And now coming around Blanchimont, they will go. Of course, Kloss and of course, Howell got held up in the pits. So they should, in effect, as long as they don't get any traffic, should be able to gap them after the pit stops. But it will be fascinating to see where they emerge. So he will now peel to the right, which he does. And so will Thompson. So the top 2 are now into the pits. And soon, Zorbach will also be joining them in the BMW. So the top 3 into the pits. Zolga will take the lead temporarily. But of course, he is still yet to make his first of 2 pit stops in this race. The Bowers into the pits. He occupies the first garage, and somewhere down there is where the Ferrari mechanics are. Of course, ignore the mismatches, but this is the first garage for Penske, and there is where Thompson is pulling in. So let's see how quick the stop is going to be then for both the Bowers, Zorbach, and even Thompson as well. So Zorbach has just slotted into his pit garage now then, as the mechanics get to work. Zolga, of course, temporarily now in the lead of the race. 8.7 seconds for Bruno de Bowers now then, as Zorbach and Thompson are still getting third. De Bowers, as expected, still stays in front of Sam Thompson. So that's their pit stops done with then. No hold-ups for them. and no hold-ups either for Nicholas Zorbach, as Soper will be pitting this lap. Gomez gets back in front of these guys as expected, but of course these guys will have fresher tyres compared to them. In fact, four laps fresher tyres compared to Gomez, so that'll be interesting to point out. We do know that fresh tyres around here, as we've seen the top class in the past, can be very OP. As meanwhile, Zorbach has come out ahead of Kloss. So thanks to that hold-up, Zorbach has been able to get ahead of both Kloss and Howell as a result. So Zorbach really taking advantage of their hold-up there,
Yep, indeed, and that's what he wants. And he is a little bit closer to Thompson, so that's important. He could be fighting for a podium here.
Each side, but it will be interesting to see how that one works out, really. It depends on what the pace is like compared to Thompson and Zorbach at this stage. Of course, Soper is pitting this lap, so De Baus won't have to worry about him too much in the Carlin. So Soper, of course, will be pitting in this lap. Meanwhile, Howell looking to the inside of the manner of Min, and he's been stuck behind him for quite a while. Min's been doing a good job fending him off. I don't think Jordan Howell's going to be particularly happy with this one, Ra.
Yep, indeed, it's not what he wants. And I think it's bringing Rubino Gonzalez, I think, into this, right? Or isn't that someone else? No, it's Kirby, sorry.
Yeah. He's already pitted as well, so Kirby could end up. In fact, he was actually not far behind Howell before the pit stop, so basically battle will resume there. Meanwhile, Balenciaga is pitting this lap. Of course, he was still yet to pit, so he will now officially hand the lead back to Gabriel Gomez as a result. Soper's also pitting, so he'll hand second place back to Bruno De Baus as a result, and third place back to Sam Thompson. But anyway, Zolga now then in the pits in the second of the two BMWs, and I'll be fascinated to see where he emerges, because of course we saw that Zorbach was able to jump Kloss. I'm not expecting him to jump Kloss, but I think he'll be able to jump Howell, given how much he's been held up by Min. Let's see where Zolga emerges then after this pit stop then, as the BMW mechanics get to work now then. Changes all four tyres and puts on a bit of fuel to go to the second part before going to the second stop of the race, which of course will come between lap 19 to 24, of course. 8.8 seconds for the BMW mechanics. Where is Zolga going to emerge then after this pit stop, as Soper is now into the pits for Carlin? Through goes Zorbach, through goes Kloss. Where is Howell on the track? That's what I want to know. As Zolga now then makes his way out of pit exit, and I think he's going to get out ahead of Howell, and the answer to that is yes. Min is finally coming to the pits, but the damage has already been done, and Zolga emerges ahead of both Howell and Kirby. Kirby, of course, also got held up in traffic after his pit stop, which was on lap 7, so Howell and Kirby really being affected by the traffic, Ra.
Yeah, and that's not what they want, and the pit early doesn't really work at this time, because you know you're going to be stuck in traffic. Pretty much need a big gap like what Gomez had.
Well, Volker looking to the inside of Soper, who's just coming to the pits, and that was very close to contact, but luckily they just avoided it. But Volker is still going to have a run on Soper as a result, coming down the Kemmel Straight. Soper's still trying to get his tyres up to temperature. Volker looking to the inside of the Carlin driver. Can he get 11th place from the Polish driver, the German, on the inside? Can Volker get the move done on the inside? And yes, he can. Over to P11 goes Florian Volker in the Arrow McLaren SP, as Soper is still trying to get temperature in his tyres at the moment, and now he's got Rubino Gonzalez to deal with. Is Gonzalez going to have a go into Bruxelles? He's thinking about a lunge, but Soper covers the inside, and he also needs to be aware because he's also got Alex-Eric Lucien behind. But let's see what the gap is like now then between Gomez and De Baus, and the graphic says no to that one. It's 8.1 seconds, and it's still increasing, in fact. So it's now gone up to 8.8 seconds. So despite the fact that De Baus has got 4 laps fresher tyres compared to Gomez, Gomez is still flying at the moment, Ra.
Yeah, I've seen that Gomez has got really good pace compared to De Baus overall, and pretty much the setup is way better.
Indeed, and so far he's having a good race. Meanwhile, Holloway has a bit of understeer there going through to turn 14. Luckily, doesn't get it into the gravel there, but all that will do will allow Florian Volker to close up and try and see if he can get the final points place off of the Peugeot driver. As now Holloway now then makes his way through the first part of Blanchimont. Now into the second part, he will go now then before making his way towards the last chicane on the racetrack. Approaching the chicane now then comes the Peugeot driver as he flicks the car in for the right hand. Now here comes Alex-Eric Lucien now then in the Peugeot. Thought about having a go at Rubino Gonzalez. Not going to work out. So he's going to hang back as the two of them are currently stuck behind Frederic Soper, who's only just coming to the pits. But these are the first round of pit stops done with now then. And we expect the second round of pit stops to happen between lap 19 to 24. Of course, some very short windows because of the fact that it's only a 30-lap race, given the fact that we are on the longest track on the calendar at 7.004 kilometers. Meanwhile, De Baus getting away from Thompson as a result. Just for a tiny bit, because Thompson's too busy fending off from Zorbach and Kloss, of course. So Thompson really having to fend off. It seems that Zorbach and Kloss at this stage are lapping quicker than Thompson.
Yeah, indeed, and it's good news for the Barrels because he can pull away with Zorberg, Thompson, and Kloss battling. But also, he can invite more drivers rose into this battle like Zorga, Howell, and Kirby.
Indeed so, as we now look at Gabriel Gomez in the Andretti's, he just makes his way through into turn 14 before approaching turn 15 now on the track. Meanwhile, Gonzalez looking to the inside of Soper, but again, Soper doing a good job covering the inside and holding on to that position at this point in time, as Howell and Kirby still trying to attack Zolga at this point in time. He's holding on to that sixth position as we run on more with Thompson. Meanwhile, Gonzalez looking to the inside of Soper into Puon. Not going to work out there. Soper just able to hold on at this point in time as they now come out of the second part of Puon before making their way towards turns 12 and 13 on the racetrack. Meanwhile, back to the battle for first. Meanwhile, Kloss has a go at Zorbach just behind now then, but doesn't think about flicking it to the inside. So he's just going to hang behind the German driver for the time being as they make their way out of the last chicane now then, as they will now come down the pit straight as DeBauer still has a bit of a gap between himself and Thompson at this stage of the race. As the championship leader makes his way through into La Source, as do third, fourth, and fifth place, as Howell and Kirby are still trying to keep Zolga for company at the moment as they try and gain back on to sixth position after their hold up in the traffic after the first round of pit stops. Up the hill now, then we go. Is Zorbach close enough to make a move on Thompson? I don't think he is. Meanwhile, Pepero has a go at Yuri Gabriel for 19th. Not going to work out, and Gabriel just able to hold on. So at the moment, Pepero currently stuck in a Viper sandwich at this point in time. Bracky losing even more time after the pit stops after his mistake we saw earlier on in the race. As we ride on board currently with the race leader, Gabriel Gomez, who's so far just in full control of the race at the moment, Ra.
Yeah, man. He's pretty much got this win in the bag for now, but we'll see what happens. Of course, there are a long way to go when it happens, but I feel like he could just keep it under control.
Indeed, as the gap now up to 10.3 seconds between the top two. Meanwhile, Zorbach again trying to have a go at Thompson into the first part of Puon there. Not going to work out for the German driver, who of course won 2 races ago at Long Beach, and he's definitely having a redemption season. Of course, we talked about earlier on that he is one of 3 drivers in this field who are battling for top class seats, of course, mainly the Haas seat. Because we believe that Amelia Wilson could be leaving the team at the end of the season, as she's currently a contender for Alfa Romeo, as we know. And so it's expected that a few World ChampCar drivers are currently in the hunt for that second Haas seat, should they retain Daniel Fraser, of course. And, of course, we also have Robert Ionescu, who's in Formula E, looking to try and get that seat as well. He's currently in the Formula E title fight. We mentioned that Zorbach's in that frame. We've also got Bartosz Kloss, who's the current test driver, who's in that frame, and he's also in that fight for third position as well. And you've also got Florian Volker as well, who's obviously had a decent season in the midfield McLaren. So, anyway, that's that. As we're now at the halfway stage of the race. We're on lap 15 of 30 now, then 4 laps away from the second round of pit stops getting underway, as Thompson really having to defend off there. He felt a lot of pressure from Zorbach on that occasion. Is he going to try and get a hold of Thompson this time by up towards the Kemmel Straight? Let's see. It depends on how much he gains on down the hill towards Eau Rouge and Radion. Let's see. Through Eau Rouge we go now then, flicking it in for the left, through the right, and now up through Radion. I don't think he... Let's see if he's close enough again, as the camera decides not to do that, as... and down the Kemmel Straight, and Zorbach not close enough on that occasion. So Thompson just doing enough to stay in front this time by, and at the same time, Zorbach having to do a little bit of defending from Bartosz Kloss. But as you said as several times, well, all this is doing is allowing Bjorn de Bauer to just get away from those 3.
Oh, yep, indeed, Thompson.
Ooh,
I think.
There, you just saw a puff of smoke coming from the left tyre there, and that's definitely cost him. It's now going to put him prey to Zorbach down towards Puon. Is Zorbach going to get a move done on Thompson this time by down towards Puon? He's looking to the inside, but again, Thompson able to cover it off as Kloss tries to get back in this now. Then as they now come around the left-hander before approaching the right and left-hander now on the racetrack. Coming up towards turn 12 and then into turn 13 now then we will go, as Kloss does everything he can to try and see if he can make it a double podium for the Penske's.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, it won't be easy, but he's going to try his best, even though strategy could help him, but we'll have to wait and see.
Yes, indeed, as now Gomez makes his way towards the last chicane through the right and then into the left-hander now, then we go. As they now make their way down towards the pit straight as Gomez starts lap 60 in the race. So we're now into the second half of the race here at the Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps in Stavelot, Belgium. Now as he makes his way through into La Source. Meanwhile, Thompson still having to cover off from Zorbach at this point in time as they make their way onto the pit straight now. Then we go as De Baus continues to stretch the advantage between himself and that battle for third that is happening behind him as Zolga continues to pull away from Howard. And in fact, I think Zolga is actually getting onto this lock, so he's actually not far away from this battle for third position. So we could end up having a four-way scrap for third very soon, Ra.
Yep, indeed. There's a good news for Zolga. Looks like he's got some decent pace here.
Close enough to get Thompson on this occasion, though. I don't think he is. Again, I think it's just a little bit too far back to challenge. He just needs to be a bit more closer coming out of La Source if he wants to get the position. Having said that, though, Thompson again fending off, and again, Zolback having to fend off from Kloss, who's got the slipstream on both of them down the straight. We talk about in real life about DRS trains. You could say this is a bit of a slipstream train in the OC, Ra.
Yeah, you could see that.
As De Baus now makes his way down towards turn 9 now then on the racetrack as he now makes his way towards turns 10 and 11 as the battle for third still continues behind him at this point in time. Zolback again trying to have a little look at Thompson. Not going to work out. He's going to have to hang back. And if they can't get it done on the racetrack, it is going to have to come down to the second round of pit stops as Zolback again trying to get close to Thompson as best as he can through turn 12 and now into turn 13 they will go. And Zolback again still stuck behind Thompson at this stage of the race. And all this is doing, as mentioned, is allowing De Baus to pull away. What's the gap now between him and Thompson? It's down to 1.8, but it's getting close to that 2-second margin between the pair of them as Zolback again right in the slipstream. Kloss falling back a little bit, but could close back in if Zolback fails to get the move done on Thompson, which on this occasion he does again. Does allow Kloss to gain a little bit, but not close enough to slipstream rate. But can Zolback get the move done into the chicane? Tries to look to the outside. Is he going to try and flick it to the inside? No, he's not. He's going to hang back. Hasn't got enough momentum to do that at this stage. Through the last chicane we go, using all the curb on the inside and through the left hand, and now then we will go before making our way down the pit straight now then. And Zolback really needs to be closer to Thompson if he wants to have a lunge on him down the Kemmel straight in the BMW now. They're heading down towards La Source now. They're trying to get as late on the brakes as possible through into turn 1. Has he got enough traction to get a hold of Thompson on this occasion? Let's see now then. And there's still a bit of a gap between them. And it just seems like the BMW just lacks a little bit of straight line speed compared to the Ferrari at this stage as they now come up towards Eau Rouge and Radion. And it just seems again he's too far back to challenge. He just can't seem to get close to him at this stage, Ra.
Yeah, it's not looking good for him, and you can't really get any closer to him. I feel like he's a little bit slower than him in the straight line.
Indeed, as meanwhile we look at the battle for 11. Soper tries to look on, Lucien tries to look on the inside of Soper. Not going to work out. He has to tuck back behind him at this stage now then. As meanwhile Volker, we just saw there, is actually now close behind on the back of closing onto the back of Holloway for the final points place. So maybe Volker could nab a point in this race. But of course, we've still got the second round of stops to negotiate as we look at the race leader, Gabriel Gomez, who's got over a 10-second lead over Bruno De Baus at this stage of the race as he uses a bit of curb on the outside as he makes his way through into Stavlo now. Then it's actually 12.6 seconds now. The gap continuing to increase as Thompson does gain sometimes on the Baus, but keeps losing time whenever Zolback and Kloss like to poke their noses in and try to find a way through on him at this stage. Now coming towards the last chicane now, then we will go on the racetrack. As now Pepero trying to have a go at Yuri Gabriel, but again it's just not working out for him at this stage of the race now then as they make their way down towards turn number 9 on the racetrack and using a bit of curb on the outside before making their way down towards Puan now then. Is Pepero going to get the move done? The answer to that is no. He's just going to hang back for the moment now. Then as Soper gets a little bit too wide there and Lucien tried to take full advantage. It wasn't going to work out there for the Frenchman as a result as they make their way through into the right-hander. We're just one lap away now from the second round of pit stops. So we're on lap 18 of 30 here at Spa-Francorchamps. Zolback and Kloss have still not been able to find a way to get by on Thompson at this stage of the race. As Lucien tried to have a go at Soper, but Gonzalez looked to the inside but didn't take full advantage and has to tuck back as a result now. Then can Lucien try and get the move done on Soper this time by? He thinks about it but tucks back behind as a direct result. As meanwhile back to the battle for third, and again Zolback just not close enough. So I think, if I'm being honest, Ra, this is going to have to come down to the pit stops.
Yep, indeed. See what happens. Zolga could even jump these guys.
Yeah, because I've just seen, in fact, Zolga is now actually on the back of these guys. So as we talked about a little bit earlier, Ra, it has now turned into a four-way scrap for third position, as now Zolga wants a chance for a podium in this race.
Yeah, indeed. As we look at Fitzroy, he's having a dreadful race. He's done it 17 in the Chip Ganassi.
Indeed so, as Gomez now then continues to lead the race by 13.5 seconds ahead of Bruno de Baus, as he'll soon be starting lap 19 of the race here at the Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps. As he'll now make his way through into Blanchimont now then, as again Soper's struggling with on this there. Oh, he might be going off, he is off! Soper's made a mistake, Lucien and Gonzalez go through, and I think there's going to be more. Don't rejoin dangerously, Soper, thank you! I thought for a minute there he was going to cause a dangerous rejoin crash there, but luckily he hasn't, and luckily the gravel has not trapped him there. But just like what we saw earlier on with Barch's Bracky, it just seems like understeer really kicking in for some of these guys, and it's affected Soper on this occasion.
Yeah, man, his race has gone bad to worse. Unfortunately, he's done and lost, and it's not great for him, and he's way behind the rest of the field.
Hello, Nicholas Zorbach, who's just joined us in the stream chat. As speaking of yourself, you're now trying to attack Thompson for third position here, but it's not going to work out at the moment. He's been stuck behind him for quite a while, as we're on lap 19 of 13. So we're now at the second round of pit stop stages now then. We're at the second pit stop window now then, which is between lap 19 to 24. So who's going to blink in this group? First of all, Zorbach doesn't. I'm not sure about Thompson in front. He hasn't blinked, but Gomez is this lap, just like he did earlier on. He's going to get the pit stop out of the race. So he's pitting at the end of this lap is the race leader. Meanwhile, look at Zolga. He's right on the gearbox of Barch's Clot. He could maybe have a go at him down to Keppel should he get the traction, as Howell and Kirby will also be pitting at the end of this lap now then. As Kloss not close enough to get a hold of Zorbach. Zorbach again not close enough to get a hold of Thompson. He is in the slipstream of him, but there's just not enough straight for him to get a hold of him at this stage of the race. As again, Thompson and Zorbach. Oh, we got
No, Howell!
No, not again for Howell. Once again running in the points, and yet again bad luck strikes as his engine blows up on him, and that is another points position gone for Jordan Howell. Such a shame for him.
Yep, and the worst part is he was going to pit this lap as well.
Yes, he was. He had the pit symbol this lap as well, just like Kirby behind, but that's the points gone. So that and now allows Florian Volker to get himself into the points. So as one McLaren retires, the other one gets himself into the points. And his car is rolling back across the track. Hopefully the car stops before it even gets close. And thankfully it does. And in fact, Volker is actually not far behind Holloway. So the battle, which was for 10th position between those two, has now turned into a battle for 9th position. But Howell is out of the race, and that is gutting, considering he was looking good for a points finish today, as everybody is slowing down just to make sure they don't understeer into the wheel of him. That's a very brave marshal, if I say so myself.
A brave Belgium.
And it was a water leak that took care of him. But anyway, we're now at the second round of stops as Gomez, the race leader, is now into the pits for his second pit stop of the day. So Bruno de Baus will temporarily take the lead of the race. As look at this battle for third, which will be second temporarily because of Gomez's pit stop, as the Andretti is now in the pits as the mechanics get to work on his car. Let's see how quick the stop is going to be then for Gabriel Gomez in the Andretti as the mechanics get to work on him. As now let's see, and it is an 8.4 second stop for Gabriel Gomez now then, as the battle, that group has now just gone by him, as Zolga is pitting this lap. In fact, he's pitting before these guys, so that could work to his advantage, Ra.
Yeah, it could work for him, and he's pretty much going to take that, but we'll have to wait and see. We'll see what happens. Will he be in clear air? We'll find out. Kirby's, of course, in the pits.
Kirby in the pits for Chip Ganassi. He looks to try and get some points for himself. Again, Zorbach not close enough as the marshals are now clearing Jordan Howell's car. He's only the second retirement of the day as well. So we've been the reliability's been quite good today here at Spa-Francorchamps, considering the fact that it is a high-speed track. Kirby finishes his pit stop. Let's see where he rejoins. Meanwhile, Alex-Eric Lucien and the Peugeot comes into the pit. As it was that an overtake there on Zachary Fitzwater?
Yeah, I think it was.
It was. That's a managed. It was. Fitzwater was trying to get by on Simon Mutka there, but it looks like LaRose has taken full advantage and went, thank you very much, I'm taking 14th there. You're not seeing things. That is a manner overtaking a Chip Ganassi there, Ra.
You could say that Fitzwater just mugged himself.
Yeah, pretty much, as Kirby, meanwhile, rejoins in 10th after his pit stop, as the battle for what will be third after everybody pits continues on. Of course, Zolga is going to be the first of this group to make a pit stop, as Zorbach looks to the inside of Thompson, but again, just can't seem to get the move done at this stage now then. And they now make their way towards turns 12 and 13 on the racetrack now then, as the yellow flags have finally cleared down at Lacombe. So, That's that really, and so they can now overtake again down at that corner. Meanwhile, the battle for what will be third after the pit stops is currently second at the moment because obviously Gomez pitted is still continuing. Zorback again trying to have a look at Thompson, but again Thompson holds off. His Kloss going to take full advantage. No, he's not. Zorback covers the inside and holds on to that position. Of course, just behind them though, Zolga is coming into the pits this lap as they come down towards the chicane now. Then as now Zorback, is he going to try and go down the inside of Thompson? He thought about it, but Thompson just goes inside.
Oh.
And no, De Barros is out. De Barros is out of the race. Bruno De Barros, the championship leader, is out. That's a mechanical failure. His first retirement of the season, and that could, bring people back into play in the championship. It's a suspension failure as well, and out of nowhere, De Barros is out.
Yeah, yeah, this is so unexpected. He just got it from here, right at the end, and then, yeah, pretty much. And he pulls over. I think, did someone hit that? No, Zolga doesn't. Oh, he does have damage. Zolga has damage.
But luckily for him, though, he was pitting this lap, but it is just going to be another headache for him in the pits. But that's not ideal. In fact, he actually got it on the curb, in fact, just as he was coming into the pits there. So, bit of a weird one there. It seems that the front wings of the BMW are a little bit fragile, so it had nothing to do with Bruno De Barros. But Zolga is in, but because he's had to get a front wing, I think his mechanics are going to have to... is it going to be there, or is it going to be one of those cases that we saw with Gal? Let's see. Yes, he's one of those occasions with Gal. So, Zolga... very, very lucky. You may remember last season at the Korean Grand Prix, of course, when Gao had that very special technology where
technology
where that magical front wing appeared, and we saw it this season as well with Ferrari, I think, with Jake Galloway, if I'm not mistaken. So it seems the same has happened here. It seems that BMW have incorporated that same technology. So it's safe to say Zolga has got away with that one, Ra.
Yeah, of course. But the question is, where will he rejoin? That's the big question out of all these. Zorberg and Kloss are in. Thompson 8. He's staying out for an extra lap. Gomez, of course, in 4th with Peter 5th. Zolga rejoins the 6th. So this is key for him.
And he's got some clear track in front as well, so that could really help him out as well as he tries to jump those three in front. In fact, Zorback is pitting this lap, his teammate. I think, did that say Kloss was also pitting as well?
Yeah.
Yes, Kloss is in. Is Thompson pitting or is he staying out?
No,
he's staying out for an extra lap, so Thompson's going to stay out a little bit extra. I'm not sure that's wise, really, considering that Zorback and Kloss, you could arguably say, are lapping quicker than him at the moment, given they've been harassing him throughout the entirety of this stint. So, anyway, La Rosa, meanwhile, in the manor, has now come into the pits, as Thompson now then just comes out of the corner now then, and let's see what Zorback can do. Of course, Zorback is pitting this lap. And so he's going to pit, as is Barcher's Kloss as well. Let's hope these two keep it tidy going into the pits as well. As Kloss is right in the slipstream as Zorback tries to look to the outside. But I think he's going to slot back. Same for Zorback. Or is he? Zorback looking to the inside of Thompson. But not going to work out. But it won't matter anyway because both of them are now coming into the pit. So, and let's not forget as well, Ra, Kloss does have garage advantage because the Penske is the first garage here. So, if anything, this is advantage Kloss.
Yep, indeed. So let's see if Kloss can jump Zorberg as he comes into his big box. Same for Zorberg, so it's not much, but he could possibly jump him.
Let's see as the Penske and BMW mechanics get to work on their cars respectively. As Zorback gets serviced, Kloss, is he finishing off his pit stop now then? As the mechanics get to work, and he has a 7.5 second stop. Is he going to jump Zorback? And he answers that is yes. Garage advantage has worked, so Kloss has jumped Zorback. But where is Zolga on the racetrack? That is the question, because he pitted a lap before. Where is he? There he is. He's coming onto the pit straight. This is going to be very close. I think Kloss might still stay ahead though, Zolga. But what about the battle with Zorback? Let's see. Out of La Source we go. Coming out the turn, and they're actually still both ahead of Zolga, so it didn't quite work out for him. But Zolga's going to get a very good run on Zorback.
Yeah, but we'll have to wait and see if he's very close to the back of Zorberg. We'll see. He's getting closer to Zorberg. We'll see if he will have a go.
The way Volker and Gonzalez are in, but let's see. Zolga in the slipstream of Zorback. Is he close enough to get the position of his teammate? Clearly no team orders at BMW, but Zorback covers the inside and as a result holds on to the position. So unfortunately, it hasn't worked out for Zolga.
Yep, indeed. Holloway still ahead of Volker. The pit stops. They rejoin behind Yuri Gabriel.
Get to pit, but of course both of them are in the points at the moment. As Soper, in fact, will try and get a run on Volker. I'm not sure if Soper's made his pit stop yet or not. But anyway, Thompson is actually staying out for a little bit longer, so he's deciding not to pit just yet. But he's got Gomez gaining. But meanwhile, speaking of Andretti's, Peter is pitting this lap as the two BMWs continue to fight.
Yeah, this is not looking good for them, and it could cost them a podium chance. It could cost them a chance of a podium here because if these two keep on battling, Thompson has a great chance of getting a podium here.
Indeed so, as they now make their way towards turn number 14 on the track before making their way towards Stavlo now then. And let's see, is Zolga going to try and get a run on his teammate towards the bus stop chicane? Let's see now then as they make their way towards Blanchimont now then for the 22nd time today in their case. As, well, Thompson starts lap 23, but of course he's still yet to pit. Of course, the second round of pit stops should end after lap 24. As Zolga tries to have a go, he's going to try and flick it to the inside of Zorbach. Can he get the move done? Yes, that is no. Zorbach just going to hold on for the moment as Peter meanwhile is in, and Thompson will be pitting at the end of this lap. But I fear that's not going to help him out, Ra.
Yep, indeed, but we'll have to wait and see. The BMWs are battling, so he could still keep third place, but he won't be second.
Of course, this
But then again,
of course, promoted to second place as a result of De Bauer's retirement. So let's bear that one in mind as Gabriel will be coming into the pits this lap. Meanwhile, Peter has finished his pit stop. I think he should emerge either in front or behind Kirby, but let's see. As just keeping an eye on the bottom of the screen there, as Mutka meanwhile comes into the pits for Carlin. Min's still yet to pit, but at the moment he's going to assume a points position at the moment. But as mentioned, he's still yet to make his final pit stop of the day. Simon Mutka now into the pits for Carlin as Holloway and Volker go steaming past. As we've got a yellow flag, actually. Who is that? Who is that? It's TJ Papero. Papero is out of the race, so his miserable race comes to an end, and the wheel is actually moving across the track near the racing line. Hopefully nobody collects it, and it is a gearbox issue that is taking care of TJ Papero, and, well, it happened instantaneously there, Ra.
yeah, indeed, then just instantly gets the transmission failure and just pulls over. And the wheel was just playing ping pong, and then it just goes around to the track. Hopefully, they will avoid it. We'll see.
Let's hope the wheel is gone by the time Thompson gets there, because, well, he is pitting this lap, so I don't think he'd lose too much, but depends on if the mechanics don't have that technology that we saw with Zolga a little bit earlier on. And luckily, the wheel has gone, so no issues there whatsoever. So Thompson can pit normally, as Gomez was gaining onto him anyway, so it just shows how quick Gomez has been. But because of De Bauer's retirement, Gomez is now going to have a huge lead.
Yeah, and I do think Thompson could take second place here.
We shall see as the Ferrari now comes into the pits now then for his final stop of the day. I think Kloss is still going to get ahead of him though, but I think maybe third maybe not be out of the question for Thompson, but let's see because of the two BMWs currently scrapping at the moment. Thompson now then into the pits for his second and final stop in the Ferrari as Gomez retakes the lead of the race with just 7 laps to go here at Spa-Francorchamps, including the one that we are on, which is lap 24.30. Let's see how quick the stop will be then for Thompson as the mechanics have finished on the car, and it is a 6.5 second stop, a very quick stop for the Ferrari mechanics. Let's see where he could emerge. Where is Kloss on the racetrack? I think he should zoom past, but I could be wrong. Let's see as he's going to flick off the pit limiter. And in fact, you could be right here, Ra, in fact, once again. And yeah, you were right here, Ra. Thompson comes out in second. In fact, as I say that, Kloss is right there. So Kloss is actually going to get a run on him. So hang on a minute. This is not over yet. Kloss has a go on the inside of Thompson. Going to get the move done through into over. He's going to go side by side. Nearly close to contact there. But I think Kloss will get a run on him down the Kemmel Straight if he's got enough. In fact, there's Zorbach who's actually starting to get away now from Balint Zolga. Thanks to the fresher tyres. But Kloss now on the inside of Thompson. Is he going to get second place with ease? Coming down towards Leclerc. On the inside he goes. I think he's got the move done. And he has. Up into second place goes Bartsch Kloss, trying to mitigate the damages that were lost from what happened with Ruben De Bauer's retirement. But up into second place goes Bartsch Kloss in the Penske. So Thompson nearly got it done, but the run up towards the Kemmel Straight, clearly too much for Thompson.
Yeah, indeed. You could say that was limitation for Kloss. Important points for him to catch up to the Barrels in the championship. But yeah, he would be gutted from last race, but he's got more points. He's getting more points in this race.
Indeed. The question is, though, can he now pull away a bit now from Sam Thompson, who, let's not forget, is on fresher tyres. So that could be something to worth noting. Meanwhile, Fitzwater, contact there!
Oh!
We're going to crash at O'Roos, and it's Zachary Fitzwater who's crashed. He's made contact with Kim Sung-min, who's only just come out of the pits, and Francesco La Rosa's got damage, as has, who is that? That is
Bracky.
Bracky. Anybody else got damage?
Oh, no.
Crash at Gabriel again. Yuri Gabriel out for the 6th time in 7 races. And, well, we saw this last season in the top class. Chaos has ensued at Eau Rouge and Radion.
Yeah, and it's between Fitzroy and Kim Sung-min. Kim Sung-min, I think he might have survived that one. I don't know, but of course the other man has lost his front wing.
We don't know what happened with Kim Sung-min there because we've only just seen what happened with Fitzwater. But you can see in the cockpit there, and well, I think he has survived, hasn't he? Because I haven't seen him top the hill there, and it was a little tap with the wall coming out of Eau Rouge there. I think the speed was already kind of reduced when he made the contact there with Kim Sung-min. But yeah, La Rosa's lost his front wing. I think Min, as you said, has survived it. And yes, he has. Min has just got going for another day, but La Rosa hasn't. He's lost his front wing. Bracky has also lost his front wing, but also another retirement for Yuri Gabriel. This guy cannot catch a break this season.
And he ran over the piece of front wing from La Rosa, and yeah, of course, can't catch a break. Hopefully, I think Gomez can avoid that. But we'll
It's
wait
off
and
the racing line, so I think he will be okay there, Will Gomez. But Yuri Gabriel is coming to a halt down the Kemmel Straight, so Gomez will have to just swerve around him, I think, when we get there. But that is race over for Gabriel. Yuri Gabriel, that is, not Gabriel Gomez, who's the race leader. So anyway, let's just see just to be sure. And yet, no damage around, so he should be fine. He'll just have to just go around Yuri Gabriel, which shouldn't be too much of a problem, which it isn't. So that's that, as Yuri Gabriel's car has now come to a halt, or I think that, but his wheels are still moving. But the marshal thought about going there, but his car is still moving. It's not come stationary yet. The marshals have to wait for the car to be stationary before they can touch it. And here comes 2nd, 3rd, 4th and 5th. They'll also have to go around Gabriel's car as well, which they do. There goes Kloss, there goes Thompson, there goes Zorbach, there goes Zolgus, and no problems there. And now the marshal can now grab a hold of the Viper, and that is race over for Yuri Gabriel now then, as Peter and Kirby now come to the scene and go around him. And, well, that's race over for Yuri Gabriel. 6 retirements in 7 races. The guy cannot catch a break. It does mean that Gonzalez is now into the points now as a result, and La Rosa will have to come into the pits for an impromptu stop, and so will Barch's Bracky, as they both lost their front wing and all of that. So, yeah, it was a bit of an interesting one, that, and Eau Rouge pretty much striking there. I don't think you can really blame one driver over the other there, Ra.
Yeah, it's pretty much a racing incident, and Bracky and La Rosa are very likely to be a lap down to Gilbert Gomez, it would seem.
Yep, and Yuri mentioned in the stream chat that could be a bit of an injury discussion right there for Fitzwater. But if I'm being honest, I don't think the contact was worth it, because it was only a light tap with the wall he had going through Eau Rouge there. But obviously something to be debated about in later on. But anyway, back to the battle for third now, as Zorbach is actually caught back up to Thompson, as Thompson is now losing time to Kloss. So this battle was now resumed after the pit stops, Ra.
Yep, indeed, it's back on between Thompson, Zorbach, and even Zolga. So, what is a battle for second now looks like to be a battle for third.
Indeed, as now we make our way down towards the source, and let's see what Zorbach can do, as he now has a go at Thompson now. There's a come out of the source, making their way towards Eau Rouge and Radion very soon. Let's see what Zorbach is able to do now then, as they're making their way down the hill towards Eau Rouge and Radion now then. Through the left and then through into the right-hander we will go. Making their way down the Kemmel Straight now then, as is Zorbach close enough to get Thompson on this occasion? I think the answer to that is no. So it's kind of a repeat of what we saw before the pit stops, Ra, where Zorbach just can't seem to get close to the back of Thompson.
Yep, indeed, and he's been struggling for that ever since the start, and hasn't been the best. Meanwhile, Kim Sung-min is fighting with Simon Mutka for 12th, actually, so that is a good result for Kim Sung-min. He's actually done well to stay out of trouble, even though he had an incident with Fitzwater. Very lucky to survive, but you could say he would be kind of lucky they would get P12 here.
Indeed, and as meanwhile we look at Thompson and Zorbach, who are still fighting for third, and Zolga just waiting in the wings in case anything happens to those two, because then you could assume the final podium place. But that is a fight for the final podium between Thompson and Zorbach, with Zolga just waiting in the wings in case anything happens. As Kloss now starting to stretch away thanks to that battle that's happening just behind. Zorbach now right in the slipstream of Thompson. Is he going to get the move done this time into Blanchimon? He's going to think about a lunge, but again, Thompson just able to cover off at this stage. We've got 4 laps to go for race leader Gabriel Gomez, as now Zorbach making his way towards the last chicane now then. He thought about it, but thinks better of it, so he's just going to hang back for the moment as a result. Through the right and then into the left-hander now then we go, as they now make their way down the pit straight very, very soon now then, as Gomez continues to extend his lead out at the front of the field. That's a battle for third still continues. Thompson having to defend the inside there from Nicholas Zorbach. Felt the pressure from the BMW driver. Is Zorbach this time around close enough to get Thompson? That's going to be the question. It depends if he's got enough slipstream to mount an attack on him down the Kemmel Straight. Let's see now then, as for some reason we're now looking back at Gomez for some reason, as now we have a look at the battle for third, and again it just seems that Zorbach just can't seem to keep up with the Ferrari, and as a result Thompson just able to hold on at the moment. Although having said that, Zolga is now actually caught up to this, so it's now become a three-way scrap for third all of a sudden, Ra. Oh, are you there, Ra?
Yeah, I'm here.
It just sounded like you might kind of cut off a little bit there before you spoke, so but you were saying?
Yeah, it could be an outside chance with the amount of laps left, but we'll see if he can capitalize on this.
As we ride on board with Barch's Kloss now, and he's making his way down through Puan. The gap 19 seconds between Gomez and Kloss at this stage of the race now then, as they make their way towards turns 12 and 13 now then. Through the left hander now then we go, before making their way towards turns 14 and 15 on the racetrack. As we now look at Gabriel Gomez now then, he'll be starting lap 28 of 30 in this race. Through the right and then into the left hander now then we go. As we look now at Zorbach, who's again trying to attack Thompson for third position now then, as they make their way through into Blanchimon now then, before making their way through the second part of Blanchimon. Is Zorbach going to make the move this time into the chicane? He's right in the slipstream of Thompson. He's thought about it. He's going to try and flick it to the inside. Can Zorbach get later on the brakes? The answer to that is no, just not enough. And Thompson again just able to hold on to that third position for the moment as they make their way down the pit straight yet again. As they've only got 3 laps to go here at Spa-Francorchamps. Zorbach again trying to get in the slipstream of Thompson, but not close enough to make a move. As again Thompson covers the inside off. I wonder if we're going to see the same story again of where Zorbach just can't seem to keep up with Thompson, but we will see.
Indeed, we will see.
Down the hill now. And down the hill towards Eau Rouge and Radion, and again, yep, just the same story really. Zorbach just not close enough to get a hold of Thompson, and it's going to have to be in the corners where Zorbach's going to do it. But the problem is, it's just quite hard to pass, especially when you've got cars that are similar to each other, and it's only really down to power really. So anyway, through the right and left we go, as meanwhile, Kim Sun-min trying to have a go at Simon Mutka for 12th position, but Mutka just able to cover off. The Manor having a good race at the moment, fighting with the Carlin. So Min having a very good race here at Spa-Francorchamps, staying out of trouble in this race. Well, I say that, he was the one that had the collision with Fitzwater.
Oh, he's
Speaking of which, he's trying to go for the inside, not quite able to do it. And as a result, he just holds on to 12th place because Mutka. But I was just about to say there, he was the one that was involved in that collision with Zachary Fitzwater, which caused all that chaos at the top of Rally on there, and has led to a bit of a debate as to whether Fitzwater's crash comes under the injury system or not. But that will be something to be debated about later on. As now coming out of turn 13 we go, and now making their way towards turns 14 and 15 on the track. As Thompson just not close enough to get out of the Kloss, and he needs to keep his eyes full of 2 hungry BMWs behind him of Zorbach and Zolga, as they now make their way towards Blanchimon now then on the track. I don't think Zorbach close enough on this occasion to have a going through into Blanchimon, as we look now at Kloss, who's coming up towards the last chicane, as Gomez has started the penultimate lap of the race here at Spa-Francorchamps. Just under an hour to go until as Mutka goes a bit wide, but luckily not to the same extent as what we saw with his teammate Soper earlier on, but Min not able to capitalise, and as a result Mutka holds on to 12th position. And so now coming around the Jackie X corner now, then can Min get the move done down towards Puan? Let's see, as he now looks to the inside, can he get the move done? The answer to that is I don't think he does. I think Mutka just going to close the door on him there into the corner, making their way Down towards the Camel Straight now then, as they will now make their way towards the end of towards Lacombe now then, and again Zorbach just not close enough to get a hold of Thompson, and time is running out for Zorbach, Raw, if he wants to get that final podium place.
Yeah, I don't think he might get this one, and yeah, he really does struggle in the straight line, as you said, the BMW is really struggling in the straight line compared to the Ferrari. So yeah, it's not looking good for him, and I don't see him getting that podium. He's
Oh,
going
he's
for
thinking
it.
about it again. He's going for it, but again, just not fully committed. And Mutka just holds on to 12th as a result, as Volker's just not close enough to get a hold of Holloway in their fight for 8th position. But meanwhile, we're looking at Gabriel Gomez now, then, who is currently leading the way with an 18.1 second cushion over Barch's Kloss. I think Kloss has been slowly closing in that gap, but he's too far back, and it's already way too late for him to possibly challenge for the lead with Gabriel Gomez. But anyway, Gomez comes around the final 2 turns, and he's about to start the final lap here at Spa-Francorchamps. And of course, this track does have quite a lot of good memories for Gabriel Gomez, because it was at this track where he became the first driver in DTM history to win the championship before the finale. So Gomez does have some good memories here, because this was the track where he won the DTM title back in 2017. And so far, he's looking like he's going to get his first ever World Champ Car victory. But of course, he's still got 1 lap to negotiate, and anything can still happen. It's a very long lap here around Spa, so anything can happen. But so far, it's looking good. But he has been in full control of this race. Obviously, lost the lead at the start, of course, but gained the lead back on lap 4 from Julian de Barros, and he's just looked unstoppable since, Ra.
Yep, indeed. And ever since he got past the barrels, as you said, because there was no way that no one could beat him. Even that qualifying lap, no one could beat that one, and no one can beat him in the race today.
Yep, indeed, as he makes his way through into turn 9. It seems that the battle for third has not changed. Thompson is still holding on to third between the 2 BMWs, and Kloss is looking secure in 2nd position, as Gomez now then makes his way out of P1 for the 30th and final time today, as he now makes his way through into turns 12 and 13 now then on the track for the final time. And it's just been a brilliant drive from the 2017 DTM champion, who of course the last couple of seasons struggled in the top class, but it's very clear, judging from what he said on Discord, he has now found his home in World Champ Car, and he's really committed to this series and hopefully making this series a success in the OC. But Gabriel Gomez now then is coming around the final few turns. A very strong qualifying lap indeed has definitely led to this moment, and it's been a very strong weekend for Gabriel Gomez. He comes around the final chicane for the 30th and final time, and Gabriel Gomez is going to win here at the circuit this Spa-Francorchamps and become the 4th different winner this season. Well done to Gabriel Gomez indeed, fully deserved, and a dominating drive from the 2017 DTM champion. Congratulations to Gabriel Gomez. Francesco La Rosa crosses the line in 15th position, Bartosz Bracki in 16th, 15th and 16th for the 2 drivers who suffered from damage from that Radeon crash. Kloss finishes in 2nd position. Good result for him. Thompson just holds on to pick up a podium. A great result for him. Zorbach in 4th. Zolga adds on to his points from Silverstone in 5th. Igor Peter, another disappointing race in 6th, but he'll still gain a bit on Bruno de Barros thanks to the championship leader's retirement today. Peter crosses the line in 6th position. Kirby will cross the line in 7th in the Chip Ganassi, so 6 points going the way to him today. So P7 going the way to JP Kirby as a result. He crosses the line in 7th position. Toby Holloway, in fact, has got Volker all over the back of him now in the fight for 8th. So maybe this fight for 8th is still going on at this point, as can Volker. There's only one more chance for Volker to get the move done, and that's at the last chicane. Can Volker get that points place off of Holloway? And no, he can't. He wasn't committed enough, so I think Holloway is just going to hold on as a result. So coming out of the final chicane, and Toby Holloway is just going to hold on to cross the line in 8th position, so 4 points going the way to him. Volker crosses the line in 9th, with Gonzalez rounding out the points in 10th. A good comeback for him, considering the tough qualifying he had, where he only qualified in 15th. Lucian just misses out points in 11th, but a good comeback for him, considering he qualified down in 19th position. Mutka is just going to hold on to 12th from Kim Sung-min, but considering he's in the matter, I don't think he'll be disappointed with that. Mutka crosses the line in 12th. Min will cross the line in 13th, and just behind, Frederick Soper will cross the line in 14th after his mistake earlier on in the race. But there you have it then. Gabriel Gomez is the winner here at Spa-Francorchamps. A totally dominant display from the Brazilian, and finally he gets a victory in World Champ Car indeed. So here are the results then. Gabriel Gomez wins the race from Barges Kloss in second. Sam Thompson finishes in third with Nicholas Zorbach in fourth. Balint Zolga fifth. Igor Peter in sixth with Jared Petra Kirby in seventh. Toby Holloway in eighth. Florian Volker in ninth with Rubino Gonzalez completing the points in 10th with Alex Eric Lucy in 11th. And you can do the rest, Ra.
Maybe have Simon Mika in 12th with Kim Song Min in 13th. Impressive race from him. Considering that he's in the manor. Frederick Sopa in 14th. Francesco La Rosa in 15th with Proteus Praki in 16th, and that's the finish for today. And the DNFs were Yuri Gabriel, he can't catch a break. Zucker Fitzroy had an incident at Rouge, which involved Kim Song Min, but of course Kim Song Min survived. TJ Papero with a transmission failure, Bruno De Paris with a suspension failure, Jordan Howe with a water leak, and Thomas Cassidy with a throttle problem.
And the fastest lap of the race going to Gabriel Gomez with a 1 minute 50.632, so he gets the full points. The pole position for the points for the pole position, the 25 points for the win, and the bonus point for the fastest lap of the race. Full on 27 points for the Brazilian. But there you have it then. That has been it from the Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps. Of course, we will find out what will happen with Zachary Fitzwater very soon, because of course there'll be a bit of a debate as to whether that will come under the injury system or not. But there you have it then. That has been it. Of course, we're not done with live streams straight away, because of course coming up at 7 p.m. BST, we of course have the Formula 2 qualifying session also here at Spa-Francorchamps. Of course, we do have the practice and qualifying session for the top class tomorrow here at Spa, and of course the F2 race tomorrow, and of course we have the entrance series and the top class race on Wednesday here at Spa as well. Of course, don't forget, in just over 50 minutes time, we of course have the Hungarian Grand Prix highlights premiere before the Hungarian commentary version of it coming at 8:30 p.m. BST. But that has been it. I hope you have enjoyed it. The next World ChampCar race will be in 2 weeks' time at the famous Autodromo Nazionale di Monza in Italy for round 8 of the championship, the penultimate European race of the season before the World Champ Cars heads their way to Far East Asia for the final 3 races of the season. Of course, next week we have Formula E, or this weekend I should say, because today is Monday. This weekend, of course, we have Formula E taking place at the fictional Uberno Fictizio circuit for the Uberno E Prix in Italy. So look forward to that. But until then, that has been it. I hope you have enjoyed it. Of course, DTM is on this weekend as well at Montreal, and hopefully today the DTM sign-up should be open as well. So do look out for that. But until then, that has been it. I hope you have enjoyed it. So thank you all for watching. I've been JW97. He's been Ra, and we will see you next time.
Bye.